Testies. 1, 2. Can anybody hear me? Ah. Hello. Yeah, sometimes everything breaks, and so we're in the holding pattern until we confirm everything's not broken. Yeah, I guess. Okay, let's see. Let's check this real quick. It's probably too late in the game to try that, but let's try it. Can you guys hear this? Should be able to hear that on All right, anyway. Too late to fix it anyway. Okay, a little background. Okay, that's not good. Anyway, all right, here we go. Trouble mine's happening now. I guess we'll find out as we go.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 6, 3, 2, 9, 7.
Media doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving.
here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're testing some audio issues, so plan B is if everything's broken, we'll just fix it tonight and then do this tomorrow night. But anyway, lots on my mind, of course, as usual. If you pay attention to the news cycles, there's a lot happening. It's coming fast and furious, as I like to say. Fast, Furious 7, or whatever the damn thing is now these days. But, yes, what was that pop? Oh, my goodness gracious. Anyway, so I was thinking about surveillance, right? We talked about surveillance really hundreds of times on this show because it is ubiquitous these days. It's one of those things where you're talking mass surveillance is really in our heads at some point, meaning there's sort of that, what would you call it? A surveillance anxiety that's always present because everything we do is, kind of boiled down to a data point or a timestamp or everything, right? Every damn thing. Every mistake you're ever going to make is going to be cataloged. And this will go down on your permanent record. Remember that old tune? Yeah, and we did a show on pretty much exactly that back in the day. But look, the weird part is that it's not just, let's say, the idea of specific, how would you call it? Let's say the anxiety itself, because that surely and certainly plays as part of this discussion. And, it's changing us. It's changing how we react to other people. It's changing sort of the free flow and purity of our own thoughts. It's changing a lot of things. And I came across this article, which I thought was fantastic. This is from livescience.com. And wouldn't you know it, it's saying exactly this. And this is brand new. This just hit yesterday or today. I don't know what the date is. Anyway, whatever. But the headline reads as such: the constant surveillance of modern life could worsen our brain function in ways we don't fully understand, disturbing studies suggest. Yeah. Okay. So not only do we have the problem of the anxiety part of this, but then also it's changing how humans not just interact with each other, how we interact with ourselves. Okay. And what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It means, let me read this, just a little bit of this. In 1785, English philosopher Jeremy Bentham designed the perfect prison. Cells circle a tower from which an unseen guard can observe any inmate at will. As far as the prisoner knows, at any given time, the guard may be watching or may not be. Inmates have to assume they're constantly observed and behave accordingly. Welcome to the panopticon, of course. Many of us will recognize this feeling of relentless surveillance. Information about who we are, what we do and buy, and where we go is increasingly available to completely anonymous third parties. Yeah, that's fine, right? We're expected to present much of our lives to online audiences and in some social circles to share our location with friends. Millions of effectively invisible closed-circuit television cameras or CCTV cameras and smart doorbells watch us in public. And we know facial recognition with artificial intelligence can put names to faces, okay? Now, not just that, the anonymity of this is it's broken. Like there's no more into the future, especially in the AI realm. There's no more anonymity for anything, even anonymity of thought and sort of the privacy of our own thoughts as everything becomes more and more invasive. Let's say you had an inkling of, I don't know, maybe a revolutionary thought. And I mean that in a good way. I don't mean in tearing down systems or becoming a menace to society. Nothing like that. I mean very specifically something that was an incredible thought that might change the world for the better. Okay. But let's say it's sort of in its infancy and you don't really know where it's heading, but you're kind of just feeling out the ideas of what this looks like. And you're, of course, researching some things that might seem risque or might seem, again, socially unacceptable and all kinds of things, right? Just as part of the specific and direct research portion of this revolutionary idea. Because, of course, you don't snap your fingers and just create something that changes the world overnight. Am I right? That's just not the way this works. It takes work. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes, revisions of ideas. It takes round after round of testing and science and all the rest of it, right? But you get what I mean. Suddenly, if you're sort of pinned down to the aspect of an actual surveillance system that's searching and cataloging, cataloging your searches is what I mean. And even some of the more risque stuff that you're putting out there as conceptual thinking, as mistakes we're supposed to make as humans. Now, suddenly you as the human being are limited. You're limited in your scope of thought because of this surveillance state, ubiquitous. And of course, it's again changing our brains in ways exactly like this because we are part of that panopticon now. We are stuck. We are really in a bizarre space as part of this larger concept. Now, look, the audio is broken, probably. Cross your fingers it's not. It sounds good coming out, but so we'll do this. We'll test this because I think James jumped in here to test. Let's do a quick test on make sure everything's working properly. And, oh my goodness, James, are you there, buddy? Welcome to the joint. How are you, sir?
I am here, and I'm okay.
Okay, all right.
And I heard an echo.
Oh, perfect. You heard an echo? That's exactly what I was talking about. So, with this being broken, hold on. Let's fix this real quick. I think we can probably fix this. Sorry about that, everybody. One moment here. Let's see. Pro 2. Let's try that. Oh, my God. This is what I was afraid of, and this is exactly what's happening right now. So instead, we'll, let's see. If I can fix this real quick, we'll truck on. If not, we might just kill this and then come back at this maybe tomorrow. Let's see. Hold on. 1 second here. Yeah, those pops are back. Oh, God. Every time they update something on this damn board, everything breaks. It drives me nuts. Okay, Pro 2 main multi-track will not work because that's the echo. All right, try that. Test 1 2. Can you hear me, James?
I can hear you, and I hear the echo.
All right, echo back at you. Sweet. That's so perfect. All right, let's see. How about that will not work. Test 1 2. Yeah, we may have to shit can this. Oh, pardon my French. Let's see.
Language, Mike, language.
Yeah, right.
Damn.
Seriously. Yeah. Don't make James start dropping F-bombs. Let's see. Okay, so the input's got to be either, no, that will cause the echo. This will maybe not. Test 1 2. Can you hear me, James? Apparently not.
All right, you got roboty, and now
Nice.
I don't hear anything.
Nice. James, do you hear me? Test 1 2.
I'm here, and I hear the echo.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. Too many things in motion here. They updated another thing, and I had to update it, and then to make everything work, and now everything's broken again. And so, okay, let's try this real quick. Test 1 2. Can you hear me, James?
Yes, I hear you, and I hear the echo.
Perfect. The echo is great. Love the echo. Okay. All right. Maybe Discord's down. Let's try this real quick. And if this is fine, then maybe we'll just roll with the phone line tonight like we did the other night, and then I'll fix it when this comes around the next time tomorrow night. Let's see. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Okay. So you can't hear that, and it's not echoing to you or anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's truck on and see what happens if we get some phone calls. If everything's broken, then I'll just talk for 30 minutes or an hour, and then I'm out of here, and we'll fix it and then come back and try it again tomorrow night where we can actually take some calls. Thank you, James, for that. I'm sorry I don't have it fixed for you, but as usual, Johnny on the spot, the glue of the show, popping in here and helping me out. I appreciate it very much.
No problem. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay, but the echoes are not the best. Yeah. Okay, so So here we go. Let's get a quick word from our sponsor, just in case this flies, and then we'll let me regather my thoughts, and we'll come back. We're talking surveillance tonight, but not just the surveillance state and the ubiquity of it. We're talking how this affects us and how it affects our brain state, and of course, in this disturbing studies, multiple studies that actually go back for quite a long time. So there's a lot to this. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Thank you to James for popping in here and helping me test. Maybe the phone line works. Cross your fingers. Maybe not. Maybe we crap can it. And be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up in exactly 1 minute.
In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable.
So here I sit, locked in my room again.
Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes.
And welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so now check it out. We're talking about this, I'm calling this predictive inertia tonight, influencing multiple timelines. And I'll explain what all that means. But we start with this article, the constant surveillance of modern life could worsen our brain function in ways we don't fully understand. And this, of course, seems very, very obvious to me because there's that observer effect, okay? And that means a lot of things. It means a quantum space. It means sort of observing something in the wild, even though it may not know it's being observed, sort of like you put a camera, a GoPro camera out there. It's almost as if everything knows it's being watched when it is, even though it seems inexplicable, inconceivable to actually kind of quantify what that looks like. You know, for instance, like a trail cam or something, the animals don't really know what a camera is, kind of, right? I mean, conceptually, maybe not, but it still kind of feels like they know they're being watched and act accordingly, right? You can't actually, maybe they smell the people that put it there, you know, so they know there's something up, and how that kind of plays out is probably wide-ranging in numerous ways. Sort of the animal instinct can sniff out if they're being watched, even in ways that might be digital or mechanical or whatever. But anyway, in this capacity, this is straight from the write-up, and it's very good, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, I do recommend it. Links in the description down below. The human brain is not built to be watched without end. Across time, the sacred boundary of privacy, mental, emotional, and spiritual, has allowed consciousness to unfold, daydream, wander, and even reform. But the constant surveillance of modern life may be unweaving that process entirely. According to recent research, being persistently monitored doesn't just influence behavior, it rewires cognition in ways we barely understand. If true, this marks not just a cultural shift, but a neurological conquest. And this is where this gets very strange, troubled mind style. Attention is a limited resource, as we know, which is the attention economy, as is being called, okay? When every move, every word, every glance is recorded and fed into these unseen systems, the brain redirects its energy from exploration to performance. It begins filtering itself, compressing its own impulses, shaping thought before it even arrives. This is not just self-censorship. It's self-recoding. Surveillance doesn't just watch the mind. It teaches it to adapt, to flatten itself, to become predictable. Over time, the imagination dims, and the ability to hear the deeper echoes of the subconscious, the archetypes we're always talking about, the dream logic, the call to the unknown, that hero's journey, it fades like a voice under static. In older times, seers, shaman, and mystics sought solitude not as escape, but as calibration. The absence of eyes allowed the inner world to reassert itself. Now, solitude is algorithmically dismantled. Our digital devices, always nearby, always listening, sever the signal between the waking self and the symbolic underlayers that speak through dream, intuition, and synchronicity. The effect may not be accidental. In fact, it begins to resemble a ritual, not of awakening, but of containment. I'll bookmark that. We'll get back to that momentarily. Now, again, that is the write-up. I do encourage you to read it if you're interested. It's pretty good. And if we're dealing with this, now back to this original article, okay? So how does being watched affect us? Quote, it's one of the first topics that have been studied in psychology, says Clement Belletier, a psychologist at the University of Clermont-Auvergne in France. Pardon my French, literally. In 1898, psychologist Norman Triplett showed that cyclists raced harder in the presence of others. From the 1970s onward, studies showed how we change our overt behavior when we are watched to manage our reputation and social consequences. Social media, anybody? You ever liked the wrong post and had the rage mob descend upon you? Yeah, this is real. But being watched doesn't just change our behavior. Decades of research show it also infiltrates our mind to impact how we think. And now a new study reveals how being watched affects unconscious processing in our brain. And of course, in this era of surveillance, researchers say the findings raise concerns about our collective mental health. And I've been talking about this for a long time. You know me, I'm a weirdo, and I like to think in sort of fractal concepts and, truth-isms, truth-ish, because as usual, truth is a perspective, as said Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of old. And I think he's absolutely right. And in this particular aspect, imagine, I mean, you don't have to imagine it because you live it. We're here in it. But every damn thing you do is cataloged. Everything is put into a particular box and space and everything else. And you are supposed to act like this is completely normal. You're supposed to act like this is something that we have to deal with as a part of being human. But in the evolutionary sense, this is not the isolationism, kind of not the geopolitical term, but just kind of going off into the woods to be alone. It was a very real experience, and it still is. As they say, touch grass, sort of leave your devices at home, things like this. But even then, you can't escape it. Like I said, the ubiquitous nature of the Ring doorbells and the Tesla cars that are recording you, all these things I've talked about in the past. You know it. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The traffic cameras, making sure that you're not running a red light and whatnot. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. But that's the thing. It means that we as people are used to being watched. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there's no escape from it. Unless, of course, you detach from the internet entirely and go, buy some acres in the woods and, start to become a lumberjack. Go back to the true old ways. The Luddites unite. And so in that particular aspect, this really sits in a strange space because technology is one of those things that is not just making the world better in many ways, but also it's sort of collapsing as I'm describing here, or let's say even manipulating the potentialities. Okay. And that's where this comes in. Influencing multiple timelines is what I'm calling this predictive inertia. Now think of it this way. Okay. Assuming that you go out into the forest like a wizard of old, you kind of lose it, dark night of the soul. You're like, I'm out. I can't face society. I can't even face myself. And you spend 6 months there, right? You're eating bark and finding plants to soothe yourself with and whatever, right? Whatever's going on out there, whatever kind of actual aspect of your human space you're trying to regain, to recenter, is now nature. You're retreated to nature and are using nature as sort of the salve, the balm that will heal your soul and allow you to go face society once again. And society could be, again, a great many things, the mass surveillance society, or, back in the Druids, the woods of the Druids and the small circles and all the rest. Like maybe it's just the campfire story at night. You just can't stand it anymore. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't really matter how you frame that. But facing society is also facing yourself and how you deal with it. Because, hey, look, I've said this in the past. I've had my own problems of sort of breaking down, having that dark night of the soul. Like everything around me is phony and fake, and everybody says, how you doing? But nobody really cares what the answer is. All the stuff that we all know intuitively, all the phony stuff we're supposed to, kind of as human robots kind of bebop along and just say, yeah, everything's fine. Everything's fine. What? Yeah, I mean, come on, let's be real. It's not fine. It's just not. In many ways, in many places, other things are, but you get what I mean. It's not the best. It's not the best look, and it is one of those things that, without that ability to detach, we're causing massive problems for ourselves. Okay. Now back to this. I'm calling this predictive inertia because think of it this way: in the observer effect in the quantum realm, It is sort of the potentialities, that wave function, the superposition aspect. Once it's observed, it collapses. Okay, that wave function collapses from the potentiality state into whatever happened. Okay, the actual definitive measurable moment. Okay, data point, however you want to define that. Okay, and so I was thinking about it this way: when you look at this predictive inertia, as I'm calling it, and what we're doing is we're taking that superposition. And through surveillance, through the observer, okay, the observer effect, and I'm combining ideas here, but through the observer effect of mass surveillance, we're actually limiting the potentiality of that collapse of the wave function, right? Meaning that, once again, back to the initial premise when I started, is that if you are on the cusp of something or need to do some research to determine what you think is true and what you think is just and right or whatever in the world, and your actual scope and scale of research is limited based on the fact that everybody will know about it eventually. It turns you into more of a controlled entity. Okay, meaning that the society itself is actually driving you because of your mistakes, your potentiality of mistakes. You get what I'm saying here. And so, in that particular capacity, predictive inertia in this case is being dampened. It's being slowed by this ubiquitous surveillance state as part of this observer effect. Now, of course, it's just digital. And I'm not sure if there's been studies done on this, if that collapse of the wave function actually works through like a video camera, but it certainly is affecting us in ways as yet unmeasurable because this is brand new. We're talking about 20 years new. This was not, again, humans did not evolve to be watched all the damn time. And we've done shows on this in the past, sort of gone metaphysical with it, who will watch the watchers and all the rest of that stuff, which certainly plays. And they've been talking about this idea for thousands of years. However, now this is real. And when you talk about the watchers directly or even indirectly in the sense of technology, this is something we deal with day in and day out, minute by minute. Now, if we are actually dampening potentialities through mass surveillance, well, first off, does that make any damn sense? All the disclaimers apply. There's no truth to be found here, just ideas. So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. Okay? But we are talking wild stuff, influencing multiple timelines through that dampening aspect of that predictive inertia. Okay? Meaning the potentialities of superposition have now been surrounded by ubiquitous surveillance state. Digital, but ubiquitous nonetheless. And so the question becomes, is it possible that the dampening of potentialities is actually not just influencing our timeline, but possibly the potential timelines that we are here to create as human entities? I don't know. As usual, look, no answers. More questions, but does that make any sort of sense? I think we have a problem here. And if it's changing how our brains work, then it's certainly changing the ideation process of everything now and in the future. We're going to try and take some calls after the break here if you want to be part of the conversation. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks to James for testing that. Apparently Discord's broken for the time being. We'll fix it tomorrow night. If the phone line works, we'll keep on trucking. We'll just do the phone line like we did the other night. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. Predictive inertia, influencing multiple timelines. Your call's coming up. Looks like we got, I'm not sure who that is. Looks like Mr. Mission Control on the line. Be right back. We're on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In shadows they observe us, and we can't hide. The futures intertwine like ghosts that collide. With every glance they take, they're stealing our minds. It's just a flicker of jazz, and the clock won't wait for you. This tangled web we rise from the ashes with fire in our soul, breaking free from the chains as we fight for control. It's just a flicker of chance, the clock won't wait for you. This tango where we dance, it's all we could do.
I agree. That one turned out pretty good. What's up? Ricky's here. Eric, we got APOC, James, Sweets. What's up? Gaston, Herschel, Joey, Dawn, Daryl. Over to Rumble, YY. What's up? Gordo, Puff. What's going on, guys? How are you? Good evening. Good evening. Liz got first. How you doing? What's happening? Good evening, Raz. Who did I miss? Puff. Scroll up. Theo is here. Good evening, guys. If I miss you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Doing my best to keep up as we go. Like I said, so if the phone lines don't work, we'll crap can this, and then we'll come back maybe tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll see how this plays out, and then just try and fix the audio. It's been like that. I'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and try and fix the audio for those of you that want to hang around. Okay, I appreciate that. Here we go. Who did I miss? What's up? Joey, we got John. How you doing? Stephen England, thanks for the kind words about that song. That was pretty good too. What's up? Good evening. Ioxy's here. What's happening? Mission Control. We'll talk to him momentarily. Cross your fingers it works. Gaston, I see ya. What's up? Hey you guys. What is up? Who else are we missing? Magavelli's here. Good evening. And Nathan from the Quantum Show. How are you? Not to be confused with our other friend Quantum. All right, here we go. Trouble Wine's happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, love these pop-ups. One moment. Tonight, could constant surveillance reshape not only society, but consciousness itself? Might predictive algorithms possess us without spirit, and rituals unfold through data rather than incense? If myth still lives, is it hiding in the glitches? And we'll get to that if the phone lines work. Looking to hear your thoughts on this. Like I said, is it possible that the ubiquitous surveillance state is dampening potentialities in that observer effect realm? And like I said, I know the observer effect is a quantum thing, but also it's something where it's changing our brains, and everybody always reacts differently when they know they're being watched. Okay. So these are two things kind of coming together. I know it's not the same thing at all. However, if we're actually sort of using these potentialities as part of this collapse of that wave function, or even how we react based on us being observed, it seems strange to me that this would have that conceptual effect of dampening potentialities now and in the future. Now, if that's too weird, that's cool, because that's my game. I am weird, and that's just the way this rolls. But as usual, again, no truths to be found here, just ideas. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. Let us test the phone lines, and if there are no phone lines, then the Discord is not working, the phone lines are not working, and then I'll just finish this segment out, we'll kill it, and then we'll reschedule tomorrow or Tuesday. Anyway, let's go to Mr. Mission Control. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Can you hear me? And go right ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. Mission Controlled, Mission Actual. Are you there?
Coming through loud and clear. You sound great, I think. Can you guys hear me on the Discord? Please let me know.
I got no echo on this end, so I just wanted to make a couple points about this PDF I found about Wi-Fi surveillance. I think it was back from '98 or something, but it coincided with, that Central Command platform. I don't know if you've ran across that, but it's centralcommand.com, and it's a platform that the governments and law enforcement can buy into for real-time forward and, potentially forward and backward surveillance, and it ties all the Wi-Fi, radar, the W-band stuff, and the satellite and device location, as well as radar off the radar and us pinging us so many million times a second, with the towers and stuff in our devices, and they've got our biometrics. So basically, keep this in mind: whatever comes into the system, probably for the past, at least 20 years, right? Whatever's coming to the net under the Wi-Fi grid globally, from out of this world, under this world, born into, if it's got biometrics and it's moving around, and potentially everything blade of grass too. They've got radar. It's being tracked. Not necessarily visually, but I mean, the whole spectrum is being pulled together in one in platforms now, like the Central Command platform, right? And so, and if you find that PDF, it's from the government. It's from the DoD on Wi-Fi surveillance. And it's back in the 90s. But it's basically all this stuff's for radar and for real-time tracking and backwards, and they're looking forwards too. And yeah, psychologically, we've always been aware that it's affecting us psychologically. But as long as there's no EMP Carrington event that takes our electrical grid, that drops this whole system, and we go back to Stone Age, have to go back into the woods, you're under this influence of exponentially if you're inside the signal range of anything, And now it's global, because the satellites are everywhere. Starlink's everywhere now. So, and to get to the quantum physics part of it, we know it's psychologically messing with everybody, or it's affecting everybody. You think noticing it, but we see it. We've seen our generation's seen it big time, and so they attached quantum particles to photons or whatever for the slit experiment, so they could observe the non-observable particles into waves. Right? That was just an article a couple of days ago, Mike. Yeah, phys.org.
Yeah, they're
got that.
Yeah, they're totally on this.
Now that
Go ahead.
now there's nothing unobservable to them because they'll just attach a quantum, quantumly entangled particle to it and observe it from there, right? Right. So they do that to us when they send us out in the middle of nowhere, so they can keep tabs on us. But like I said, and it gets back to the missing kids and to the, the pokey pokies. Oh, and now after come out on Jimmy Dore, everybody's open talk about the pokey pokies now. But I'd still be careful because, like I said, they're going to bring censorship back in a different manner. And I think they're giving a lot of people a rope, possibly to do that self to again, So, like I seen it with my channel. I got my channel back, and now everybody's able to talk about side effects and stuff like that, and everything. But just I'm being careful.
Yeah, well, in a society that's this ubiquitous with that surveillance state, you have to be, because again, we've seen it like rewind the last 10 years, and the political winds have shifted hard left, hard right, hard left, hard right. And so it just depends on who's sort of the ruling power in the moment, that depending on the things that are going to be censored. And that's a fact. And so as usual, you should just be cautious of what you say, only not because I think we should self-censor. I think we should be smart enough to recognize what's going to happen. You're like, I can say this now. Well, give it a few years and you probably won't be able to again. And so that's the problem. There's a massive problem with this. Regarding that observer effect and the idea here that we're sort of dampening potentialities with surveillance, you think that plays at all? Or do you think that's a little too esoteric for the conversation here?
No, it's definitely affecting us, but it's like I said, it's something that we can't avoid. We can't get away from it right now until we see a Carrington event or a solar event or like a worldwide earthquake that takes everything out, or an atmospheric event that doesn't allow us to use this technology anymore. So, I mean, all we can do is sit and watch how it affects. I mean, it's drawing everybody inside. Girls that can't get jobs, they're doing this social media money thing. And, and a lot of them don't want to. They're trying to get jobs out of college and they can't. And they're seeing that the AI is taking all these jobs, and all this stuff, stressful stuff's happening now to them. And you'd think you'd want to go fishing, That's the natural thing we used to do. We'd have a hard day. We'd go fishing, and everything would be okay. And nobody at that time, except for satellites, was monitoring us. We didn't have these devices on us all the time. or these towers everywhere, but it's the fact that these towers and the routers and everything else, but the towers themselves and radio towers now and the satellites are all in an array, a multi-sensor array network of real time. They got a radar ping on every biometric in their influence around the globe, and it's the 14 Eyes and whoever got a hold of bought into this technology packages and put it together like that central command platform. And like the threat analysis algorithm for YouTube, they changed their name and stuff like that to get out of probably what Doge and stuff was coming down with here, talking about antitrust with Elon Musk and stuff now about that, and it all ties back into surveillance and who's got the access to that information. A lot of it's open source, and it's kind of scary, but everybody's like you said, too tied up into the moment to actually play on that like they would have back in the 90s if this had been available to certain people. You know what I mean? Like some major events might have been nipped in the bud that happened.
Yeah, maybe.
Specifically dealing with towers and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, maybe. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. And as usual, right, you should be careful about who you criticize, and that's how you know who your masters are, right?
Exactly, because you don't know who's programming your CBDC coin next month, bro. You know what I mean? Because they could say you're going to get milk chocolate, or you're going to get chocolate milk, or you're going to get milk, or you're not going to get nothing but some butter or some grease or maybe nothing at all.
Yeah, which is going very 1984. I don't know if you read 1984 recently.
Right.
But
one more thing. They were testing for new stuff anyway. Anyway, we won't get into that. We'll cover that later. But if it makes a big issue, hopefully it won't. But yeah, the quantum entanglement of the photons, and they're watching everything now. They can see the unseen light photons in the slit experiment, so they know what they're doing.
Amen.
The wavicle effect.
The wavicles. Wavicles. That's a T-shirt. You're the best, brother. Thank you for jumping in here early and testing the phone line. Congratulations on getting your YouTube channel back. Check it out, Mr. Mission Control. He's the only one on the internet. Just give it a search. Send it to me because I haven't logged it because you were banned years ago. So send that to me, pretty please, on the Discord or in the chat, and I'll add you back to the friends page. Appreciate you, brother.
Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry. It's a monument right now. It's just it's all right. Those of you that know. Let's keep it at that for now. I'm not really ready to make a big step back on stage just yet, but
okay.
I got 2 channels, Mission Control channels. So
okay, so
you search for it, you'll find it.
Okay, so when you're ready, you let me know. Right. We'll add you back to the thing.
I will. I'll spam you to death.
Okay. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye. See you guys later.
Thanks for the call. Have a great night. That's Mr. Mission Control in Arkansas. And yeah, this is why we talk to each other. People all over the world have different ideas about all these things, and recognize what happens when ideas kind of come together, sort of in a neutral space of ideas. Again, the marketplace of ideas is really what this has always been about, not just our show, but the larger context of a conversation and those potentialities that kind of fit into this realm. So again, thank you for helping me test. Shout out James. Rest up. He has a headache, so thank you for popping in to the Discord early, verifying it's broken. We'll fix that and get that fixed. And thank you for Mr. Mission Control popping in and testing the phone line. So the phone line is working. We're taking your calls tonight at 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link and come say hi. Listen on Discord, but we're not taking calls on Discord because you get like an echo back. I'll fix it. I'll get it fixed tonight or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow on my day off. We'll do some testing and make sure it's all working. And once everything's working, I'm not going to touch anything. But this is the problem with technology, is that they'll update something. You have to it's an forced update of a driver, and then you do it and everything breaks. And then you're like, back to the drawing board. Like, I've spent years figuring all this stuff out, and then one damn update fixes everything. Sometimes it's a Windows update. Sometimes it's I'm not going to bore you with the details. But anyway, so there you go. Appreciate the call, Mr. Mission Control. Do give him a search. Go check out his channels, which he got back. As long as I've known that man, he's been banned from YouTube. like he first showed up, I was like, oh, hey, what's up, Mr. Mission Control? Cool stuff you got it going on over there. And he got banned instantly. So yeah, maybe there's a convergence. But anyway, so tonight we're talking about, I'm calling this predictive inertia, all right? Influencing multiple timelines in one space. Now, of course, conceptually, what that means is that we are dealing with a lot of things. We're dealing with, again, the potentialities of creation, of dreams, of that shamanic journey, of us retreating into the woods for a respite to come back and face society again. And maybe with better ideas, maybe with a larger understanding of ourself. Okay. But if all of that is being tracked and all of that is being sort of carried through this larger surveillance state, we're not allowed to make mistakes because, as we've seen recently, people digging out a social media post from 5 years ago and being like, look, aha, we knew it. This guy's a scumbag or whatever. Like, this is the type of stuff that eventually will happen in terms of that, as Mr. Mission Control very smartly said, whoever controls your, digital coin in that future. Okay. That CBDC future, or not only that, in the space of a post-scarcity world where we're, kind of getting in a bread line, but it's a digital bread line. And they send our tokens to us, which we, can exchange for large language model access or food or whatever, right? I mean, this is the type of dystopia that kind of rears its ugly head conceptually when you're like, okay, so this seems fine if everybody is fed and has all the things they need. That Star Trek future is amazing. But also look at how close we've come in different ways currently and the ways we've failed. And I've talked about this recently as well. We throw away literally tons, hundreds or thousands, maybe millions of tons of food just in this country every year. And yet there's people that are hungry. You get it? Like we got some massive bottlenecks of problems that need to be solved. And it seems like everything else is trying to get solved politically. And this is not a political show, so I'm not even going to point this or point that, but you get my meaning. Every other damn thing seems like it's a problem that needs to be solved, except for, well, how about one of the most basic problems? People starving, people being malnourished, people not knowing where their next meal comes from. You know what I mean? It's complicated. And that's why we talk about these ideas together, because yeah. Anyway, okay, so back to this. Now, I was looking at this, and there's a lot of different ways to consider the ideas here, and that's the whole point. These additional threads are not in the write-up, but I do encourage you to join the Discord if you have not. I'll drop these from Perplexity and from Grok in the actual after show chat. So join the Discord, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link, and there's a sort of Easter eggs. So there's additional information regarding not just the links that I provided as part of the conversation tonight and the write-up, but there's also additional sort of brainstorms that come out of these systems, which are pretty good. And in this case, let's go straight to Perplexity. We are taking your calls once again. Phone line only. Discord's broken because of the echo. We'll get that fixed tomorrow. But anyway, so check it out. So current research reveals that observation fundamentally alters both human behavior and quantum systems. You see, now this idea comes together. Here we go. Though through distinctly different mechanisms. Modern surveillance technologies may limit human behavioral potentiality by enforcing a constant state of self-awareness and behavioral modification. Similar in concept, but different in mechanism to how measurement collapses quantum possibilities into definite states. This report here that I'm sharing with you, again, will be on the Discord, examines the evidence for observation effects in both human psychology and quantum physics, exploring the metaphorical parallels between surveillance's effects on human behavior and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing I hadn't heard of. This is pretty cool. The Hawthorne effect. Maybe some of you have heard of this. I hadn't. I was like, oh, well, here we go. The Hawthorne effect represents one of the earliest documented instances of how observation changes human behavior. Discovered in studies at the Hawthorne Works factory between 1924 and 1932, researchers found that workers modified their behavior when they knew they were being studied. Although initially linked to changes in illumination affecting productivity, further analysis revealed that it was the awareness of being observed rather than the environmental changes that influenced worker performance. This phenomenon extends beyond industrial settings. Of course, social settings, everything else, as we talk about on the show often. The observer effect demonstrates that people generally alter their behavior when they expect to be watched. Philosopher Jeremy Bentham leveraged this psychology when designing the Panopticon prison, as we talked about early in the 18th century, a structure where inmates could never be certain if they were being observed, thus promoting constant self-regulation of behavior, which is the point. which is incredibly weird. And it's affecting our brains because we're constantly under this sort of self-surveillance, this self-judgment of every damn thing we do and every damn thing we think because of the systems in place, because of this ubiquitous surveillance state we're always talking about. So the principle, of course, in this panopticon underlies modern surveillance systems like CCTV networks, like we talked about, which create environments, blah, blah, blah. So the observer effect in this capacity operates bidirectionally. Observation not only changes what occurs, but also affects our perception of what we observe. Researchers may unconsciously interpret results based on their expectations, seeing patterns that align with their hypotheses rather than objectively assessing data. This observer bias leads us to see what we expect to see, potentially distorting our evaluations of others' actions. And we'll get back to this momentarily. Now, that's the point of this, is that, again, you know, it's a whole thing. It's a human kink too, right? Like some people like to be watched. Like it's generated the entire OnlyFans and porn and all this stuff, right? It's an odd thing. I don't know. It's definitely a peculiar thing where some people prefer privacy in all capacities, but other people are like, hey, you know, like even if this is a train wreck of my life, I want everybody to watch and see. And you can go check it out on YouTube. And look, maybe it's a fascination of mine as well as being wrong about everything. Because look, I'm wrong about most things I talk about, but recognize that nobody really puts themselves forward and says, well, here I am again to tell you how wrong I might be about things. Okay. So to me, it's penance in some capacity. It's for caring what people think. It's me sort of moving past those thresholds of judgment. There's a lot sort of personally kind of cooked into that space for me, but also, like I said, like I've been saying, recognize how difficult that is to do, being watched and be wrong every night. And oddly enough, like I've said in the past, we don't ever really take a lot of heat here on this show. Maybe because we haven't got as much, you know, a national exposure as maybe we deserve, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But maybe that's it. Like eventually that sort of thing will become something that's a little bit more odd than we ever dreamed, because people get mad. People just get mad. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. But anyway, so back to the surveillance stuff. Okay. All of this is something we'll never be able to avoid. This is literally becoming this sort of schism in terms of people that literally retreat to the forest and never come back, like Merlin just disappeared to the forest and came back a wizard. Like that. Or staying engaged, locked into this modern system of surveillance and wondering what this looks like as potentiality. Like I said, if you're allowed to think in private, your ideas are just going to be better. That's it. If you're forced to think publicly and think, you know what, there's a perfect example of this. Think about school. You guys remember back in school when they were like, okay, Mike, tell me what you think about this. And so if they gave you that question in like 5 minutes sort of to think about it yourself, and then, you know, kind of come back and then talk about it, it's different. But like you're there in a class of your peers, many of them are just not nice, waiting for you to say the wrong word or stumble on an idea or whatever. And so you are so locked into that social stigma that your brain just seizes up. And even if you had a good idea about the particular question, or even a novel way to look at it as a youngster, as a formative brain, then even still, that social stigma plays its part of dampening potentiality. You see? I'm making the case well. It feels that way to me. And it feels as if, even so, that this is something we have to come to terms with. And it is going to affect us in ways as yet immeasurable. Back to this study where we started. And again, the headline, links are in the description, livescience.com, very recent, the last couple of days. The constant surveillance of modern life could worsen our brain function in ways we don't fully understand. Now imagine when every damn thing you do is locked into a blockchain. Imagine when every damn thing you do, every dollar you spend is put in a spreadsheet and you're judged accordingly by the powers that be. And in this case, in a post-capitalist society, or things we always talk about, sort of AI maybe taking over politics or whatever, that means that you're judged by a machine. Do you think a machine actually has the judgment capability of assessing human behavior? It's weird. This is weird. We're coming into this space where a lot of these ideas that I'm talking about, that we've been talking about collectively as a group for years, are now coming to fruition. And what does it mean? What does it look like? What does tomorrow bring? And as usual, I don't know. We have some guesses, but I don't know. But I do know that some of these things we actually deal with are going to be incredibly difficult. And you see this happening in the AI state already. Very smart people being fooled into the next demigod because the AI told them so. We did a whole show on that a few weeks back. Just be careful. As usual, right? Discernment is everything. Trust your intuition on things. Don't go too deep into the machine realm because it's been finely tuned to tickle our dopamine out in just the right ways to not only influence us further, but again, as usual, the ideas we press into this thing, it's learning from. Just like real-time social media on X or wherever else. It's learning. And what is it? Maybe a conversation for another time. Maybe not. But that's what's on my mind tonight. A lot going on here. And of course, the weirdest part as we get weird, I'm calling it predictive inertia. Influencing multiple timelines. Because if you influence or dampen the potentiality of human thought, that's exactly what you're doing, right? Imagine an entire generation. Let's say they're all born today. This next generation, what are they called? Whatever these crazy names they come up with. Whatever it is, right? They will never know another world other than that ubiquitous surveillance state. And judgment of potentiality that is now dampened by that social stigma. Does that make sense? Like I said, if it doesn't, sorry. I mean, but it's dawning on me that we have a problem here. And not only that, it's a problem that's escalating. And it's a problem we probably don't know how to deal with just yet. Or can we? Love to hear your thoughts. The Discord is working if you want to listen. If you want to be part of the show, we're taking your calls at 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. Come meet a lot of the amazing people that are part of this. Be right back. More on the way. No answers, more questions. Is it possible to influence multiple timelines through a surveillance state? Be right back. More on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In a cryogenic slumber, lost in the lunar night, your face a faded number among the stars so bright. Dreams of forgotten echoes, waiting for time's command. Curtains of gray and sorrow, the lonely lunar sand. Below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. Silent by your ancient souls reside, suspended in a story, kept in the cold dark tide. Our futures in the making, in a silver-edged domain, hearts kept in silent aching, till we meet once again. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. Frozen in time we're resting, waiting for dawn's embrace. Whispers of love confessing in this forgotten place. We are awakened below the moonlit sky, hold on to the fragments of the love we tried. with the morning glow, and the light will come to know. Below the moonlit sky, of the love we try, in the depths of lunar silence, our destinies intertwine. Memories kept so vibrant in the vacuum deep in mine. The tale of cosmic yearning across the astral sea, and the fires of hope still burning for when we finally breathe free.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Yeah, so just to reiterate, the Discord is working if you want to listen. It's not working if you want to call. So if you want to call, I see Derek with his hand up, the Night Stalker. We got 2 calls before you, so if you want to maybe aim for the bottom of the hour, we can set you up there. So that's cool. And again, like I said, sorry for the audio stuff. Something updated, which was kind of broken last time a little bit, and I spent a bunch of time updating it today. I thought everything was fixed, but you know how it is until you actually sort of stress test it on the fly. You can't really know. What's up, Ricky, Derek, the Night Stalker, APOC, Jeff, and Wisco? We got Sweets is here, Don, Matzel, Daryl, Eric, Gaston, Herschel, and Michael W. What's happening, folks? Thanks for all the reposts and all the places and all the stuff. Thanks for the call, Mr. Mission Control. I see you, Space Orbison. Good evening. What's up, John? Great comment, great chat in all the places. Hope you guys are doing well tonight, just hanging out and doing weird Troubled Mind stuff. As usual, there's a lot of threads here. There's a lot of ways to look at this, and that's why we do it. What's up, Gordo? Why? Cubs Future is here. Good evening, guys. Who'd I miss? Maga. What's up? That's Magavelli. Hello. I know you say MAGA these days and people lose their minds. Raz is here. If I missed anybody, just say hi. And I'll say hi back. And yep. Okay, almost punched out. Yeah, cool. Good. Glad I was able to save you there. Okay, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up in about 15, 20 seconds. Got a couple calls right now. I'm not sure who the first one is, and then we'll go to David from Magic and the Noise after that. And your calls as well. Here we go. Lots of ways to look at it. Predictive inertia influencing multiple timelines. Possible or nah? Of course, you got to think about how that might work. But here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, DLive, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Shout out to Jack and Jill over there on the Underground Media Network. Tonight, we're talking predictive inertia, I'm calling this. Influencing multiple timelines. Do you think it's possible? Could constant surveillance reshape not only society, but consciousness itself? Might predictive algorithms possess us without spirit and rituals unfold through data rather than incense? Of course, it's complicated. It's very esoteric futurism, but recognize in the acceleration of technology, as we're always talking about, a lot of this does kind of clap back to our evolutionary state of our brain, of our mind, of the human condition. And that's why, to me, it's important to talk about these ideas in that large temporal context, because you used to be able to retreat to the forest for that shamanic journey. I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. You know, you do a little bit of illicit mushrooms or something here or there, and suddenly you're on some list because, well, you had to use your digital coin to buy them from wherever you got them. You get my point. And kids out there, you should not do drugs. I'm not suggesting you should. You get the idea, though. Suddenly you do something, you make one mistake in your life, and it goes down on your permanent record. Now, why? And of course, what kind of actual aspect do you think that has on the human brain? That evolutionary bit that puts us as humans in 2025. That's my point. And can that actual dampening of that predictive inertia influence potentialities, including multiple timelines? See how weird we get? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Not sure who this is. It's been a minute. Is this a first-time caller? You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name and where you're calling from?
Michael Talbert. I'm calling from Wellington, Kansas.
Right on. Michael, first-time caller, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Thank you for listening. Love to hear your ideas here. Take it wherever you like, as you know.
First off, let me just say, man, longtime viewer, you put out excellent content, man, and there's not words that could thank you enough for what you're doing here to awaken people and kind of lead them to the light. You know what I mean? That said, my father was a Navy SEAL. He was Naval Intelligence and worked for IBM after that for 47 years in a high-ranking position. He used to warn me about all this stuff way pre 9/11. I always thought it was just paranoia or crazy, Vietnam veteran talk. But here we are,
Yeah, that's one of those things that, as usual, the social stigma of kind of seeing things before other people do. And I'm not claiming I'm a prophet or anything, but if you talk about enough ideas, you're going to be right about some of them. And in that capacity, you have the military trauma. They've seen these things, man. And so in that capacity, it's even worse because I've talked about our veterans in the past that they just don't get the credit and the respect they deserve, especially when they come back and, they've changed their minds entirely about why they were there. I mean, we should listen to them above anybody else, but no, the society's like, nah. And thank you very much for listening, and thank you for the kind words and appreciating the work we do here. Welcome to it. What else you got? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, hey, no problem, man. My pleasure. I was going to dip back into the mass surveillance state aspect of this. As multifaceted as this episode has been, I think it's important to remember that these are the same people that use the PSYOP. The nuclear test footage has the house just decimated, but by God, that's the strongest picket fence you've ever seen type deal. I suppose you got to take it with a grain of salt. For me, it's not so troublesome. Like when I hear people really stressing about it and it affecting their actual day to day, I like to try and remind them that it's good. Like we're not watching them. We don't pay attention to what the feds are doing. It's the other way around, and they should be scared of us. You know what I mean?
Cheers to that, but also don't get us in trouble, please. But I feel you.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean to be too brazen, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like those people that were running around when the Patriot Act was passed, talking about you don't have anything to hide. What's your problem? I certainly don't think that it's okay for our government to surveil us to the extent that they do, but.
Yeah, which is something that needs to be talked about. Naomi Brockwell, if you guys don't know who she is, go give her a follow. She's always talking about surveillance and why this is one of the most critical things we should be talking about. And it's in part what inspired the show. I just refound her. I used to watch her content on YouTube. I refound her on X and have been following her. And she's definitely, again, Naomi Brockwell. I'll grab her X and drop it in the chat. Please go give her a follow if you're into that stuff. Because like you said, the worst type of propaganda is sort of that, well, if you don't have anything to hide, then why are you worried about it? Well, okay, because being a human in the most basic sense is we have an expectation of privacy, of at least our thoughts. And we're spinning into a realm where that's not true at all, is it?
Absolutely. It reminds me of a quote from Goodreads. I think it was something to the extent of that the whole planet would become one big interconnected web of cameras. It was all too much to fathom, this writhing, seething mass of digitized human lives, mocking, sneering Leviathan. It's certainly gotten bloated, and way, I guess, too big for its original intention,
Yeah, the Leviathan. Where is that from? Because I've used that term myself, sort of the Leviathan, the tentacles of the surveillance state. Who actually wrote that, do you know?
So I'd found the quote in Goodreads a long time ago about the dehumanizing potential of widespread surveillance and where individuals are reduced to basically data points.
Okay, which makes a ton of sense here. And again, is as usual with all the rest of the technology accelerating, that's another part of it. We thought Facebook sort of predicting what we were going to buy next was pretty dystopian, but imagine when it's everything, literally everything. That becomes the wild part about it. Regarding, what else you got? Go ahead. But I got a question for you if you don't have anything else. All you, my man.
Oh, no, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, regarding this potentiality of the sort of multiple timelines, do you think that this sort of observer effect of society will really put a block on human potential? That's really the what's on my mind foremost tonight, and even how weird does it get with the multiple timeline aspect, because superposition means potentiality of many things until, of course, the wave function collapses, all the rest of that stuff. And the observer effect, again, two different things, two similar things, but also it makes you wonder if this is really going to be our limiting factor going forward. What's your take?
I mean, I'd liken it to the no code stuff that's coming out. You know, soon the market will be saturated with every person that's got a tongue in their mouth being able to create bots and LLMs and agents and you know, APIs and stuff. I don't see it so much as a limitation. Those who will fall by the wayside were bound to be there in the first place. But I mean, I do get where you're talking about the quantum entanglement of it and the multiverse, you know, playing into it. I don't know, man. Where we once had the freedom to object and to think and speak as we saw fit, now we have sensors and systems of surveillance that coerce us to conform and solicit basically submission, acquiescence. You know, so it's I don't know. It's important to remember that there always are as many truths as there are observers. And so as long as there's people like yourself out there, you know, pushing this kind of positive outlook on the stuff and not getting too doom scrolly, fear porny, you know, like I think that we'll be all right, man, you know?
Amen. Amen. And thank you again for the kind words. And welcome to the joint, man. You're a first-time caller. You're welcome back anytime. You know where to find us. Thank you for listening. Thanks for caring about the ideas. And you're locked in. You're on point here. And let's stay positive together as part of it. So thank you for the call. You're the best, brother.
Absolutely. Cheers to that.
Madam, have a great night. Appreciate that. That's Michael on the YouTube. First-time caller, long-time listener. That's what we live for here, making new friends and talking ideas together as part of this. And yeah, there's a lot there. There's a ton there. Like I said, follow Naomi Brockwell, by the way. Link's going to be in the chat down there. She's basically focuses on the surveillance state, on why privacy is of the utmost importance to the human condition and why we should be focused on this, because it is critical. It's always been critical, right? Securing your papers was the old term of the Constitution. But guess what? Nobody writes anything on papers anymore. So what does that mean? Oh, it means that we need to make new laws and backdoors, and you get it. It's complicated. This stuff is incredibly complicated. However, again, just recognize that a narrative can be built out of just a couple or three data points, as I always talk about. And imagine, you know, taking some of your internet search histories and trying to make a narrative. Me especially, I mean, doing these shows, I search all manner of wild stuff. They think I'm the craziest person on the entire planet, but I'm not, because I'm searching potentialities. Michael, nice to finally talk to you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the phone call. Fire stuff. Love to hear your guys' take on this. I'm calling it predictive inertia, influencing multiple timelines through that observer effect. And is it possible to dampen not just our space through mass surveillance and dampening potentiality, but then of course that would mean, assuming the many worlds theory is true, that we're dampening potentialities throughout sort of the multiverse of Doctor Strange. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thank you guys for being patient with the technology and jumping onto the phone line. David, Magic in the Noise. What's up, brother? David in Arizona. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
Very good, Michael. How are you today?
Pretty good. No complaints out of me. Just doing what I love to do, talking about weird stuff by dark and night. What's on your mind, my man?
Yeah, it's a good topic.
Thank you.
So from my perspective, I'll give I'm definitely not pro surveillance state whatsoever, but I'll give sort of maybe a different perspective on it a little bit. If when a person goes on the path of spiritual development, one of the components that they typically have to overcome in order to achieve enlightenment is the dissection of their own ego to a point, which again means their ego's under observation, self-observation of their ego. That's one element that there's kind of different attack vectors, but that's one of them. And through that process, they essentially kind of are able to dissect and let go of their ego over a period of time through that process. And the reason I mention that as a concept is that if if the system was to go to a point where, it's complete surveillance, it's basically a prison planet, that kind of thing. You have to self-regulate, all that stuff. People would start to turn inward. And although, because I could take prison as an example, like how many people go to prison and become enlightened, you don't necessarily hear a lot of that, right? But that's a small subset of the entire population. So if the whole world was like that, my perspective is that there's likely to be a opposite effect that it's almost like it creates a condition that allows for that process to accelerate amongst the population. Because if they're forced to turn inward because they can't really speak outward, right? Then as just sort of a natural byproduct, I believe there's a percentage of the population that would likely become self-awakened. That's just a thought. It's just a perspective.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think you're right. So eventually that's what will happen. Like I said earlier, Luddites unite as part of it. And so that spiritual journey, the inward, all the stuff we're always talking about, the dark night of the soul, these things happen to people, and they come in sometimes weird spaces where you don't expect. And, we're always dealing with this stuff. And so us going inward is that way to sort of, again, resurface from the forest as Merlin and face society with a new perspective. And that new perspective, of course, is myriad. It's not one thing. It's whatever makes the most sense to you and sort of regains your spiritual armor to go face the nonsense of society itself. And so, yeah, I think you're spot on that as we have sort of a divergence here, this is going to happen more and more. And as I've always said, trust your intuition, because it is sort of our evolutionary advantage at this point, because it's cooked into us for millions of years. So yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on this. And there's a part in the write-up. I'll see if I can grab it and read just a little bit of it to you, because you are literally reading my mind in this aspect. But go ahead. What else you got?
So, I mean, that's fairly, that's the main point. If I was to go into the direction of, there's another component to this for me would be the ontological perspective. The collective desires complexity and growth. So in my opinion, just based on my own personal experiences, the idea of basically a prison planet that's just so locked down that you can't do anything, I don't believe for 1 second that would last very long. I believe that the ontology would create conditions to change that, because it's opposite of what it needs for its overall growth. I'm just saying from a different, higher perspective, I don't think that outcome is achievable. If it is, it's a short-term thing. It will be transformed, in my opinion. In terms of the other question you asked, which is the observer effect, I can't talk about a lot of stuff because it's way too complex in terms of my experiences, but I have had, whether people believe it or not, I have had experiences with other realities, if you want to call it that. And my perspective is that the observation effect here is not going to have an effect on the other parts of you that exist elsewhere. That there's a segregation between those components. And I don't believe that it will have any kind of effect on that.
Okay. And for those of you that don't know, David here actually is the other half of, Sasha of Magic and the Noise. And please check it out. Link's going to be in the description down below. I'm not kicking you off. I just want to make sure that they understand sort of the context there. He's a remote viewer. He's over there doing a remote viewing group. And I spent some time hanging out with him a little bit. Very smart people and a lot of different ways to look at the world, especially through those experiences. Imagine, again, for any non-remote viewers out there that never sort of maybe tried or didn't get something they expected back, or didn't try at all, just kind of read about it. It's an interesting thing that we're sort of sharing consciousness and those reality tunnels I always talk about, because once you do something like that and witness something like you have, then suddenly things start to make a little more sense, at least cosmically, right? And then, which of course snaps back to us and how we deal with this as humans in this space. But yeah, I love that there's a segregation of ideas, of potentialities, maybe through that multiversal aspect. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just recently published a book on Amazon, Project Phase Shift, under my name, David Molnix. If you want anybody who's interested in contactee experiences with aliens, I have a few, and so that might be of some interest to some. But yeah, Michael, obviously the audience knows you're quite brilliant. Our interactions with Michael have been delightful, and I really do, just like the previous caller, and Sasha does too. Sasha's brilliant. She and I both appreciate the time and effort that you put into your subject matter, because some of the topics that you put together are quite complex, and you're linking a bunch of information together in a way that's coherent, right? But not necessarily things that you're going to see culminated together in other places. So you're quite brilliant at that, and we do appreciate it.
Thank you. As I've always said, I'm not immune to flattery. And Project Phase Shift is the name of the book. Is that right?
Yes, Project Phase Shift. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna search in that right now. I'll drop that link in the description and also in the chat. Help our friends, guys. This is the point. David, brilliant guy. If you got anything else, we got a few minutes left. If not, fire stuff. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for the kind words. At some point, I'd like to get back and talk to you guys at another panel like we had or whatever. So I'm always open to that.
We would love that.
Right on. And you're welcome anytime, as you know. Unless you got anything else, you tell me. Not trying to run you off here.
No, I'm good unless you have something you want to talk about, but I know you have to move on to other people as well.
Yeah, well, the thing with me is those sort of, we talked about you and I talked about the substrate of reality a little bit in the past. It's sort of one of the things, how would you actually sort of make this multiversal reality work? Like what would that look like? And so if there is some sort of limiter or barrier, so I don't know. I guess my question is that if we cannot actually change something here that messes with another timeline or our other self somewhere else, why is that? Because it seems like this stuff might be fractal and tied together in some capacity. Do you think there's maybe a larger danger there of us sort of not just causing problems here, but causing Doctor Strange level of multiverse of madness type stuff? I don't know. It's strange to me that that seems to be one of the blockers, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Is it possible to? So explain that a little bit more. And is it possible to break down that block and maybe influence other timelines at all? Have you ever encountered anything like that?
Yes, I have, and it's very complex. And this is not remote viewing. This is, I have hit a level of enlightenment, whether people believe it or not. And through that process, I've experienced some things that are quite unique and profound. And in some cases, I've been able to access what we would describe as parallel realities. And from my perspective, you're correct. That a fractal is one of the ways that you could look at this, is it's like a self-replicating fractal. If we're looking at like a collective where it's got many fractals all over the place, self-replicating sort of the kind of thing. That would be one way to look at it. But these realities are basically like all possible realities are operating simultaneously. And so there's this sort of segregation because, if God's running an equation, it kind of needs it needs an answer, right? So it's running those answers simultaneously in different configurations to get all the answers, essentially. In terms of the idea of interaction, that is possible to a degree. I don't want to go into it, but I have witnessed personally things that are able to move across. And so I know that is, at least from my perspective, factually possible, but it's very difficult. And yeah, it's a complex topic.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully, I'll put a pin in that in my mind, and we'll recircle back either on a panel with you guys or on another call, another show. Appreciate you very much, brother. Thanks. I found your book. I will drop the link in the description. No, thanks for being part of this. Always a pleasure. Tell Sasha we said hi, and you have a great night, brother.
No, thank you. You too.
Thanks a lot. I found the book. It's I'll drop the link in the chat in just a second here, just trimming out the spyware part of the link here. But great stuff from David as always. And like I said, Magic in the Noise is the name. Check it out, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. I didn't add him just yet because issues and no excuses, but he is on there. Just search Sasha. So scroll down, troubledminds.org. Follow Sasha there. It will be a link to their link tree, Magic in the Noise, and a lot of really smart people over there doing really smart things. And of course, remote viewing. It's a remote viewing group, and always a pleasure to talk to David there. Let me get the thing here. Going to make sure I got it. You know how when you do like a search and that on the interwebs, it like adds like the question mark and the longer link and the spyware. I'm just trimming that down so I can show it to you guys and not give you the spyware associated with where it came from. But yeah, fantastic call from David. Appreciate that very much. And that's the point of this. Hey, reality tunnels converging is really what this is about. And what have you seen? And do you think it is possible? And so that's why I asked that question, the further question. It seems natural to me that there would be sort of a block, like a natural block in the many worlds theory, because again, think about the chaos you could create in the larger context of multiple realities. So, but as that's the question I asked, is it possible to sort of influence them? And he said, yeah. It's different though. It's complicated and it's a long thing to get into. But yeah, fantastic stuff. Appreciate it. Dropping his book in the chat there. Please go give it a follow. Go check it out on Amazon. It's very inexpensive, and clearly we want to read about more of David's experiences and the things that he's been up to. And yeah, let me see. Where's the best chat to drop this in? Oh my gosh. So many windows. I'll just drop it here. Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. So tonight we're talking about what is it? I don't even know. Predictive inertia, influencing multiple timelines. But of course, not just through potentiality. And this is where this gets complicated because once again, the surveillance state is judgmental. The surveillance state is keeping us sort of in that social lock, that prison planet, as David said. Think about that. If you guys don't think that it's a prison planet in that regard, think about it metaphorically as I'm describing. That social pressure, the stigma of an unsavory thought. You see? It's complicated. It's incredibly complicated, and this is why we need to talk about these things and wonder about them together. Love to hear your thoughts. The phone line is up, the Discord. You can listen on Discord, but it's broken, so we're not taking calls on the Discord tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. You can listen there. We'll have the call-in fixed on Tuesday nights. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More on the way. Be right back. Derek the Night Stalker and your calls as well.
Crazy colors swirling, got the laughter in the air. Jesters in the night, they weave magic everywhere. Clowns are juggling dreams, wild world is in despair. Nothing's quite as certain when reality's a game. Chaos in the corner, whispers calling out your name. Look around, it's laughter, even when we're feeling pain. You know what you want me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Dancing shadows flicker under neon all aglow, while the stage is set for tales that nobody will know. Echoes of the laughter as the lost ones steal the show. Life's a playful circus where the chaos takes a bow. Joy and sorrow blending in the rhythm that we vow. Join the ride of madness, it's the only way for love. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Strange nights I insist, strange nights I insist. Twists and turns and shadows, laughter in the night. A tapestry of madness, dancing with the light. Fools and fun were woven, chaos in our stride. Embrace the wild, let the laughter be our guide. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, there'd be nights like this. Nobody warned me, There'd be nights like this. Strange nights, I insist. Strange nights, I insist. Falling in the rhythms, beats that pound and thrum. A flashing carnival where the misfits come undone. Whirling through the madness with our hearts set to ignite. In the symphony of chaos will remain the shining light. You know they want me. There'd be nights like this. Nobody want me. There'd be nights like this. Nobody want me. There'd be nights like this.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Thanks again for jumping through some hoops and calling in on the phone line instead of the Discord and all the rest of that. What's up, Roving Fungus is here. I see you. What's up, buddy? Who'd I miss? Gaston, Dawn. What's up, Herschel, Michael W. Thanks for the calls. Great stuff from David and Michael, and first-time caller there, Michael. Appreciate that very much. Which is actually who is that on the YouTube chat? What's up, Space Orbison? I see you there. I'm trying to find Michael here. He had a cool name on the channel. Let's see, Ioxy, how you doing? Good evening. Let me know what Michael's channel is, and I'll share it as we go. But appreciate the calls, guys, and thanks for caring about the ideas and considering, well, that maybe reality isn't as we expect it to be. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up in 15 seconds. We got Derek the Night Stalker in your calls as well. And yeah, what's up, Jay in New York? Nick, how you doing? What's up? Shane, Ona Pendigo, how you doing? What's up? Hope you guys are well. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk predictive inertia, influencing multiple timelines. And the crux is this. It's very simple, but then it gets very complicated. Could constant surveillance reshape not only society, but consciousness itself? Might predictive algorithms possess us without spirit and rituals unfold through data rather than incense? And as usual, right? So when you look at the old ways, we're dealing with the millions of years of the evolutionary aspect of the human mind, okay? Consciousness, and again, however you want to define that. As usual, your reality tunnel's yours. Don't let me meddle. Just listen to what I have to say, pretty please, and then think about some other wild ideas, okay? But then beyond that, is it possible that the new way is going to fracture potentiality, okay? And what I mean specifically is that we socially, the observer effect of humans, we get, shy, or what if they're all going to laugh at me, right? That whole bit, the playground bit, it kind of never leaves us until you face it. You have to face that demon and be wrong and chase it down, and then big deal, they laughed at you. So what? And then you're free to think again. But think about that in the societal manner, in a ubiquitous surveillance state. So are we sort of dampening potentiality as part of this conversation? Not here, but the larger societal ubiquitous surveillance state that makes us scared to even think outside the box because we're dissidents or we're whatever. You pick the term. There's so many terms you could toss in there. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of ways to look at this, a lot of wild ideas that kind of flow through it. And of course, influencing multiple timelines. Real or not? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show, except Discord's not working. Let's go to Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker on the phone line. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight? Thanks for jumping through some hoops. How you doing? Go right ahead, sir.
Going on, brother. Great show. Great calls, everybody.
Thank you. Just chilling, doing stuff, man. Lots of stuff in play here. And when I was putting this show together, to be perfectly honest, Night Stalkers inspired me in a great many ways, as you guys know, and I'm sure he's inspired the hell out of you guys as well. But the term, we've talked about this in the past, you and I, potentialities. And that's what came to mind as I was kind of putting this together, which was sort of the linchpin in the whole larger idea, is can you dampen potentialities? But take it anywhere you like. Welcome to the joint. Thanks for jumping through hoops and calling it on the phone line.
Yeah, for sure. I think you can. I think they do. I think that kind of might be maybe the kind of dark underbelly of the conspiracy world, is that we're kind of limiting maybe like devil's advocate, possibly the idea of the all-seeing eye or Big Brother, a small group of elite that are able to like wield their influence over all of us. The fact that we think that potentially might make that happen and might like limit our freedom by just the like thought that we're being controlled, which I'll get to. But just I'm interested in like the idea of being watched, just changing consciousness, changing how we think and stuff. And I've been thinking about this with like little kids and everything. And I forget what it was. Like somebody, like one of like a girl from my grade, from my graduating class, she was like posting a video of her kid opening a birthday gift or something like that, or something random. And like the kid was having a reaction, and then kind of out of the side of the eye noticed that the mom was filming on her phone and stuff. Be like, what's that? Like, kind of like telling him to kind of have a reaction. And he didn't acknowledge the camera, but I could see he processed it, and then he amped up his, like, the little kid. He's like a 4-year-old kid, amped up his reaction because he's being on camera. And I'm thinking like, oh, this like 35-year-old mom is probably the entire time this kid's been alive has been like doing things in order to take a video of them to post them on Facebook to get likes. And I wonder like what that's like. And like, let me rewind to the 90s. There's a camera in your face. You're gonna like put your hand up, oh no, or change, or do something, do kind of like a silly dance, or just acknowledge the camera, or change, or get nervous, or something like that. This kid didn't change at all. He just, because it's constantly being watched by this third eye of his parents, this recording eye of his parents. Like he didn't acknowledge it. He just changed his reaction. So how much of that from age 0 is going to impact the way the organic nature of how people do stuff? Like people are already eating things just to post them on Facebook, or doing things, doing on events just to like post them and get the likes. And it's already like, I don't know, like Facebook started as a way to like creep on people, in the social aspect of like, oh, what's up? What's this person up to? What's this person up to? Check in on this person. And then somewhere around like 2013, 2011 range, it switched to like me, where you're just posting what you're doing, thinking that everybody's watching you, thinking like there's some kind of weird presence that's kind of like, I don't know. I'm rambling. I got a ton of thoughts, but that first. Just like
you're spot on. You're spot on. It is fundamentally changing what it means to be human because of that observer effect in a societal basis. And like I can't imagine either. Again, a kid of the 80s. I was born in 75, so it's like one of those things where 1985. I was 10 years old. And there were no cameras. Like a video camera was huge. It was massive. It was thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the big VHS camera.
Nobody had any of those things. And me growing up, none of my family ever had one. And so it was never like, oh, you're on camera, Mike, do something stupid for the camera, right? And so I was able to really kind of in the mind space of me. And again, you know how hard it is to just be a kid and recognize that everything around you is kind of a farce, and then sort of find your place in it somehow. It's complicated. It's incredibly complicated, but I can't imagine the scale of further complication with cameras in your face constantly when everybody's got a damn iPhone. Come on, little Mikey, do something stupid for the camera. My goodness, man.
Exactly.
It's corrupting. It's corrupting humanity for real. You're spot on, man.
It's creepy to think about. You kind of see with like reality stars too. If you go back and watch reality shows from the early aughts, or like their first season of The Real World, the way that they act on camera, it's tough to get comfortable. Whereas if you watch a reality show now, it's as if there's no cameras at all. It's like they can their whole lives kind of have this weird fake camera they have like on them all the time, especially like influence the culture and stuff. I'm going to get more into that, but I want to take a step back and just the power of being observed in my own personal life. And I feel like, or I mentioned this before in the Discord chat and stuff, but like when I got really good at becoming a shelf stalker, real quick, it was just because during college I would come home like one weekend a month and like work a few overnights at the end of the week or whatever by myself. And there was like the only billionaire that I know lives around here is the guy who owns my old store. He owns like I'll just shout it out, like Mr. DeMoulas. He owns the chain DeMoulas Market Basket in New England. It's huge. They're completely dominate this whole area. Local chain. And he lives in a mansion, like where I'm sitting in the parking lot right now. There's my store. Across the street is my old store. And then behind that is this giant mansion. And I'm like, so this is like 2011 probably. I'm peeking in my conspiracy like phase. I'm like thinking about the elites, and so I'm like, there was a rumor that he had security cameras in his mansion for all the stores that he could access from his house. So during these overnights, I would think like, if I'm some billionaire and I own this company, I'm chilling on a Friday night in my like lazy boy with a cup of wine, and I'm gonna check on my stores. So I would go to like one of the bulk aisles. I would set up like 4 huge pallets, wear like my basketball jersey, something like that, and then point at the cameras and like taunt the cameras, and then stalk as fast as I can, thinking that the owner of the company, this billionaire, is gonna watch me and like put me from obscurity or something like that. And then kind of the same token, a store manager was known for during the day, like sitting like his first 45 minutes of the day was to sit upstairs and just watch the camera. So I learned to be fast at stalking by believing that somebody was watching me all the time, which I know they weren't. And then kind of piggybacking on that, I feel like socially I became my coolest, I guess, when I had a bunch of roommates and stuff. And I think there's a kind of the hermit, like wallflower kind of like person who doesn't socialize a lot, like homeschool versus public school kind of kid. I think there is an element to that where if you're not around anybody, you're kind of like, you're not worried about what people are thinking, and you're unpolished kind of. Whereas if you're, I don't know, I feel like just being constantly around people made me kind of step my game up, and then I came up like at the other end, like my best me kind of. And then kind of to that, like the people you're around, the way they observe you, the way they think about you will affect how you act. If you're treated as like the coolest kid in the group, you might be more effective. You might be like you might be awesome. You might be like, how did I think of that? Like, oh, that's a funny joke, whatever. Whereas if you're treated like the dumb ginger kid in the group, then you're gonna be much more self-conscious, and you're gonna like maybe trip over yourself and drop stuff more often. Like, why am I? You know what I mean? And it's gonna affect the way you operate, the way you think and stuff. And I'm rambling, but I'll get to the better stuff. But what do you think about that?
No, you're good.
The way, like, I think it actually like
I was actually talking to Mrs. Strange about this last night too a little bit. There's an old song by the Butthole Surfers called Pepper, and in the song, yeah, right. It's a really good song actually. I'll link it in the description too if you guys want to check it out. But many of you know it, or maybe you don't. But there's a line in there that says, "You never know just how you look through other people's eyes," and that's like the mind screw of all of it. Of literally all of it. And not only that, so they don't know how it's vice versa, right? So it's fractal, and we don't really know in one way or the other. Look, hey, Derek, I'm super cool. I'm Michael Strange. I got the hat and stuff, and you know what I'm saying? But like, there's other people out there that be like, this goofball, I can't believe he's still doing this. Like, what is he even talking about? This is nonsense, whatever. But that's the type of stuff that sort of our spiritual armor, the armor of God, needs to be put on us. And back to Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister, the bastard, like wear it as armor, and then they can't use it against you. But it's one of those lessons that comes hard earned. It's not something you can just be like, well, sorry, Derek, you're the tall ginger that everybody makes fun of. It's battle scars. It's battle scars. And I'm not saying anybody made fun of you, just kind of going with your metaphor there, but you know what I mean. Yeah. It's definitely something that we need to conquer. But in this case, when it goes down on your permanent record through the mass surveillance state, we got a larger problem here for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly. So with the consciousness changing and like the internet and kind of the way people have the phone on them, constantly like the streaming thing. Like there's so many people are like we focus on the big streamers and the ones that have a lot of influence and everything. But there's like, I don't understand the watching the streaming, like watching people play video game aspect of streaming as much. But I definitely understand people playing a video game. I said, well, why don't I become a streamer? Like, why don't I just turn my camera on and then maybe I can become famous like Hyson and be rich and not have to work and that kind of stuff. I get that instinct, but there's just like, there's a kid in my town who I got follow on Twitch or whatever, just because I know him, and like sometimes his notification will pop up, and I'll go to his feed, and there's 0 people watching, and he's on there like every single day. There's like 0, nobody watching, but it's definitely affecting the way he acts. And as soon as I pop in, he kind of changes because there's Derek like in the chat like watching me or whatever. So like, what's that doing to our mind? And there's an idea of, have you heard this? Like it's like possibly not true, or it's debatable kind of, but I think the thought experiment is kind of cool, of chat, like the word chat as the fourth person subject, like first person being me, second person being you, third person being like them, him, whatever, and now the fourth person is being chat, because apparently kids now, like Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever, are like acknowledging of a non-existent chat, the way like a streamer would be like, something will happen. He goes, chat, what do you think about that? Oh, chat, that's crazy or whatever. Now kids, they'll like they'll just do that in class, or they'll like drop something and be like, "Oh, chat, I messed up," and they're by themselves. There's nobody. They're not on the phone. Then there is no chat. They're not streaming, but they're like thinking as if there's an audience for them. They're thinking as if they're being watched. Like it's creating a fourth person subject in our minds and everything. I think it's weird, especially kind of as if we move towards some type of hive mind or some type of like symbiosis with the AI. This is like the first inkling of a consciousness that includes multiple minds in it. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. It's funny. It's becoming a meme too, right? Like hey, chat, right? That's like the joke. Whether there's chat or not, like you're on a live stream, like hey, chat.
You're not on your phone. You're by yourself. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so crazy, and it's ridiculous too. Like I've done the Twitch thing, like roll back like years and years and years ago. But like, what do you say? Like that becomes a problem. Like so either you're a really good gamer or you're a really good talker. But if you're both, wow, congratulations. And if you got, if you're super sexy, that's even like triple. But like, I get what you mean. Like go on Twitch and scroll down to the bottom of these things. And there's people there talking to the chat and there's no chat. It's incredible because it is that observer effect. It is, whether somebody sees you now, they see you maybe in an archive or whatever. But yeah, I follow you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's one, to be streaming to 0 people and to acknowledge the chat, that's one thing. That's just like, take it till you make it kind of thing. But just to be driving in your car in the back seat and your mom's in the front seat, your mom says like a joke or whatever that you think is a corny mom joke, and you say, chat, can you believe her? When you're sitting by yourself in a car, not on your phone, not streaming, there is no chat. There's a whole generation of kids who are doing that, and it's like so like the way I think about it, in around like 2010 or maybe like 2012-ish range, I was much more into Facebook. I was much more like trying to get a bunch of likes on my posts and stuff or whatever. So I would like think of funny stuff, think of jokes, whatever, kind of like a stand-up comedian trying to work on the bits or whatever. But I would think of things that would make good Facebook statuses. I would like frame my thoughts. I caught myself. I'm like, I'm framing my thoughts as Facebook statuses. I'm limiting myself, and I took a break for like 60 days or whatever, and I shook it. But so. It's like that time. And that was 15 years ago. And now there's like kids who were just born into that completely, their minds are being molded and shaped, not just to like, let me curate my life, but as if there's a fictional audience watching them all the time, or just the AI or whatever. It's really like, it's like, that's when we talk about how like a single cell organism will become a multi-cell organism. Like that could be the first step, is to think as a collective, think as a hive. Like we are a legion type of deal. We are chat, and like for the observing thing, like this isn't really observer effect as much as just the kind of conspiracy angle of it. Like if our behavior is being changed, if I'm going to act differently because I think my boss is watching me on camera, like what doesn't the elite? Wouldn't the elites know that kind of? So couldn't kind of the idea of Big Brother or the idea of even like God, like my relationship with God as a child was just, there's somebody always watching and like tallying up my good deeds versus my bad deeds, and like I shouldn't do this because God's watching. Like God's watching, he's gonna like punish me or whatever. And so it's like, and I believe it still. I believe that, but like that's affecting the way that I act. And there's the whole concept of heaven, and you're gonna weigh those deeds, weigh all your data that you accumulated through the course of your life, essentially, will change the way you act. And then the same idea with Big Brother or the Watchers you mentioned, or like the Illuminati as the all-seeing eye, kind of like maybe they know that, and they're kind of like instilling that so that we act a certain way. We're easier to corral if we think we're correct. If we think we're already corralled, we're more easily corrallable. And like the sheep that like don't realize that the fences are gone, they're still kind of staying in there within the lines of the fence. With the observer effect, kind of like with the movie Tomorrowland with Plus Ultra, it's kind of like time travel group, but they're in this pocket dimension where they're able to kind of like watch everybody, and they're like, they're kind of like gauging the potentialities and stuff, and like, we're in a bad course. Let's inject some predictive programming into this. They're kind of like pseudo Disney. Let's inject predictive programming into the media of like apocalypses and all kind of bad stuff. Hopes that they'll realize what's going on and they'll run away from it, and they'll change course of society, and they'll move away from these bad scenarios. And the climax in the movie is like, spoiler alert, he's like, no, you did the opposite. Like, you saw these apocalypses and you were drawn to it, you liked it, and now we're headed right there. We're almost there, type of deal. So maybe that's the Hollywood, the wood of the holly tree magic of Hollywood, the kind of fake it till you manifest that idea, or just like they're able to like affect potentialities by giving us kind of false binaries, or giving us choices, or giving us like, I don't know, the idea of getting married with an engagement ring and a nuclear family and all these things. If you were born in a certain time, that's your options. If you're born in a different time, you're gonna have, like, if you're born today, you might consider polyamory. If you were born 1,000 years ago, there's a tribe scenario happening. Like, your options are limited just based on the things that you think are possible.
You're just assigned,
in Hollywood and the media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're just yeah. I just agree with you, and it is as we talk about the fractal by nature, but the temporal fractal aspect of this is that in the old days, like I said, we were our consciousness and our social aspect was very, very different, and I think it's accelerating beyond what we've sort of become, right, through that epigenetic aspect of ourselves and our ancestors. And that's why we're at, as I always call it, that temporal inflection point, because I think the technology is outpacing that and causing potentialities, a lot of problems.
Yeah. It gets complicated. Like, I'm into like the idea of the monoculture and kind of longing for the time where we're all watching the same shows and there's only 3 channels and everyone was kind of like, everyone was having the same moments and shared water cooler moments, and we're kind of now all kind of lost in like space, trying to find different groups, different life rafts, and people. Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Like, where are you in reality? Like, what reality tunnel are you existing in? Oh, that looks pretty cool. But maybe I can hop into that, and maybe that existed pre the technology we have now, because it was easy for them to limit our choices like that. They know what everybody's doing because everyone's working they're all working the same schedule. They all have the same goals with the 50s nuclear family type stuff, or the different things they see on sitcoms that they're trying to emulate. And I'm like rewatching all these 80s and 90s sitcoms right now, kind of just casually in the background, like second screening. And I'm realizing that like so much of my morality is from Full House and Family Matters. So much of like what I think is possible and like of core values of what I think is right and wrong, I'm seeing, I got that directly from Bob Saget as Danny Tanner in Full House. You know, the Olsen twins told me how to be a good person and stuff. I'm like, oh, geez, like it's and how many of my choices were limited that way. And I don't know. And with the Vatican chronovisor, the whole idea of that is it's AI-ish, but it's like they're seeing all these potentialities. It's like it's their time screen. They can view the past and the rumor that they saw the crucifixion and that kind of stuff, but also they can view other potentialities, potential futures. And I think they can set us on different courses, especially if like they control the ultimate observer in God. Like, oh, God's mad about this, or God says this, or God decrees this, or whatever, because they know if they change where the snowball is rolling, it'll where it hits at the bottom of the hill. Like, I don't know, they can I don't know. I'm rambling, but just the foresight that the Vatican chronovisor gives, it's about potentialities. And now we have AI who's crunching all this data, who has all of this information. And I looked up the etymology of data, and it means to give. So we're essentially giving all the knowledge about us, giving our emotions, giving our thoughts, giving our patterns and our behaviors, giving our digital souls basically over to this thing, and it's able to crunch all this information, quantumly, all kind of crazy stuff that it knows is like can track all that, can track like how we're going. I don't know. I'm rambling.
No, you're far too harsh on yourself. You're not rambling. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. All that plays. Yeah, it is. All of this is incredibly complicated, and that's why once again we need to talk to each other about this stuff, because you're going to see stuff I don't. We all got blind spots, and it is. I don't know. This is one of those things that it came up the last time we talked too. A little bit of that. You know, I kind of made the joke that our morality, as you're describing, or whatever the calling, I think is when we talked on that show, sort of refusing the call, was that the call may be propaganda entirely. Like our morality, our human morality is propaganda entirely. And so that becomes the problem here, because when we're talking about this aspect of ourselves acting differently, because we're always being watched. You're chilling at a red light, you're being watched. It's crazy. It's literally changing humanity forever. And I don't know, man, like, how do we fix it? I think we fix it by recognizing that we're all weirdos and there's no judgment, because judgment be damned, and just do the best that you can do in spite of. I don't know. That's my take. We got about 2 minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just real quick with the observer effect. If I had to put money on it, I less think with the multiverse things are happening concurrently. I think there's one manifested reality and everything else in this infinite, every other potentially, like every other reality existing in latent space. But it's not like running concurrently to us. So I think that they're able to manifest the thing that they want by guiding our potentialities that way, so that we manifest, so we render into reality the goal that they want. And if you watch Clerks, there's that scene where he's like, is hanging out with his girlfriend, so he puts the note being like, leave money for the paper. She's like, are people going to steal? And he's like, no, people will pay if they think they're being watched. Stuff. So is Big Brother, the all-seeing eye, the Watchers, God, Santa, your teacher, the man, are these things there because they know that we'll change? If we know that we'll act differently if we're being watched, and is that a way to, like, right off the bat from the jump, limit our choices? That's all I got. Sorry for rambling.
Is that all? What are you talking about? You don't fire stuff. What are you talking about? You're blowing our brains up, man.
I feel like I'm off the rails. I don't know.
No, you're not. Not at all. Not at all. You're spot on 100%.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks again. I appreciate you jumping through hoops and calling on the phone line. Always a pleasure, my man. You have a great night. Derek the Night Stalker. You know me, love him. Again, troubledminds.org/friends, or click the friends link on the website. Scroll down. Go give Derek a follow. And it's the Night Stalker. There you go. With the T. Did I change it? Let me know if I should change it, Derek, to just night. And it is Night Stalker with the N. So Night Stalker, there you go. Go give him a follow. Go leave him a nice comment on his YouTube channel, and let's inspire him to do more work. And look, he's spot on about a lot of that. And that's the point. Let's talk to each other. What are we considering? What are we missing? And what is society not talking about? Enter Troubled Minds. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the call. If you want to be part of the conversation, we got a couple calls coming up, and your calls as well. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Looks like we got Eric and Matt's out, and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere.
In the heart of the steel jungle, machines hum a digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky, as knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth stop to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire, data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams, unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, 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 open to the arcane fate. Synthesized what we seek and find, infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core, knowledge whispers evermore. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital names, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargaze, 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 open to the arcane fate.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. Thank you to Derek. Great call, as usual. Don't forget to give him a follow. Night Stalker, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It's under N, Night Stalker. Check out his YouTube channel. Let's inspire him to make more content. And yeah, look, as usual, as I always say, there's a lot of things in play here. And it's important to recognize that life is not the binary prospect that they would make us choose from. It's just not. Like, I know it's one of the dumbest things ever said. I just said it because, of course, it's obvious, except the entire sort of powder keg of human thought is being cooked back into that space, into the binary space of decisions. That's just so stupid to me. Anyway, I hope you're well. Again, also go check out David's book, by the way. Links in the chat there. I will link it in the description as well, and we'll add it to the, is that actually on the, I should check. Let's check. Is it on the friends? Let's go to Magic in the Noise. Is it actually in that link tree? If it's not in that link tree, add it pretty please, and we'll plug your book too. Magic in the Noise. Oh, it's Sasha. There we go. I should change that to Magic in the Noise because it's not just one person; it's multiple people. There we go. All right, let's check it out. But yeah, that's the whole point, right? Do help our friends. Help our friends. Let's see, Magic in the Noise, Facebook. Okay, so it's not there. All right. So yeah. Scroll down. It'll be in the links in the description. But look, I don't know. Usual stuff for me is deferring truth and thinking possibilities, and that's the whole point of all this. What's up, Ricky? Eric is coming up next. What's up, Jay? New York, how you doing? Who did I miss? Daryl in New York. Roving Fungus. Enoch, how you guys doing? Hello, good evening. What's up? If I missed you, just say hi. I'll say hi back. And as we go, what's up, sweets? Great call from Derek, of course. And here we go. Taking your calls as well. Shout out chat, the fourth person. That's a whole nother thing. Maybe we'll revisit that and do a whole show on that. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking, well, what are we talking about? Hell, I don't know. All manner of things. Predictive inertia, influencing multiple timelines. Could constant surveillance reshape not only society, but consciousness itself? Might predictive algorithms possess us without spirit and rituals unfold through data rather than incense? And what it means is basically this. The observer effect goes many different ways. In the quantum realm, the observer effect suggests that the collapse of the wave function brings potentiality to a certain outcome, like rolling the Dungeons and Dragons dice, etc., right? The platonic solids, as we've talked in the past. However, in the human realm or in the mammal realm, or maybe even the plant kingdom, who really knows? The observer effect is that the entity acts differently when being observed. It's almost as if you're on stage and putting on a show. Like I've said before, Michael Strange here is very different than Michael Strange just kicking it on Friday night on the Discord as I'm yelling at people and going nuts or whatever, right? I mean, I don't go that nuts, but kind of nuts. It's different. Right? The stage effect has, well, it has us. And so what do we do? And how weird does this get? And talking about potentialities, is it possible to dampen multiversal potentialities of these timelines? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient, my friends. Let's go to Eric in Ohio. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How you doing? And go right ahead.
I am doing good. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. I think this is the first time we've ever talked on the phone line. Am I right?
No, the very first time I called in, which was the very first show I ever encountered, I called in.
Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. My memory's foggy.
I wasn't up with Discord.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Right on. Welcome to the joint.
You guys brought me to Discord, though, so.
Yeah. Hey, the social contagion continues. What do you got for us tonight? Go right ahead, sir.
And Pepper, what a great song. For sure, Eric Estrada's in that video.
Actually, no, I didn't go back and watch the video, but that's amazing. So I'm glad you know the song, right? You never know just how you look through other people's eyes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't mind the sun sometimes. The images it shows, I can taste you on my lips and smell you in my clothes. Sugary and cinnamon and sugary and softly spoken lies. You never know just how you look through other people's eyes.
Indeed. I was listening to that last night. Yeah. Butthole Surfers, Pepper, check it out. You will not be disappointed. What you got for us tonight? Go ahead, sir.
Well, sir, you've got me thinking about institutions of power like religious institutions and governments and their patterns of force and the way they manifest the vectors that confound the common folk. And I guess you could go all the way back to 4 BC to start talking about this if you really wanted to, but who's got the time for that? Let's start at 325 AD at the Council of Nicene that Justinian did, right? Like at the end of that, on the front end of the Catholicism. And they've, from that point on, it was a sealed deal, in my opinion, that the Catholic Church was connected to the Byzantine Empire, right? Otherwise known as the local government. They start off with catechisms, which are interpretations of a Bible that no one else can read because it's written in Latin and no one knows how to read Latin. And they have these elaborate rituals that are performed in Latin that nobody can really understand. But they start off with catechisms telling people in society how to behave and how to act and limiting their potential. And then eventually catechisms are made for younger kids, for the next generation to come up to have the same viewpoint. And this culminates in people being fined for not showing up for church and doing certain rituals, and to confessionals, where essentially people would go and confess things and tell their deepest secrets to somebody in a box. And that didn't ever just stay with the person hearing it on the other end, the priest. When I got my bachelor's, I took a class on the Salem witch trials, which we went over the legal documents. And then in my master's, when I got my master's in history, I took a witchcraft in the Atlantic seminar where we studied the witch craze from the 15th to the 17th century, reading legal documents from Germany, Scotland, and England. And when you read those documents, you can see how the powers that be manipulate the narrative of whoever is caught up in their patterns of force, and how they turn that narrative to enforce their own power institutions. And it is something where they had their tendrils in society and they were listening to what people were saying and doing, and then people would be taken to court on this. And this got so bad that, like, between the 15th and 17th century, that a neighbor could turn in somebody because of something that they did, suspecting that they may be a witch or evil, and then they would have to go to trial. And in Scotland in the 16th century, it was really bad. They had torture to extract confessions from people, and there's documented cases of them doing this to children and whole families, and they have found torture devices and manacles and chains that were for kids and stuff. So it was running rampant at certain points, and it accumulates even through the Protestant movement when people got tired of the Catholic Church being an intermediary between them and God, and they wanted a more personal religion, and they started with their Protestant religions like the Puritans and the Huguenots and people like that. The Puritans in the 16th century, like Massachusetts Bay, Plymouth, Connecticut, New Haven, they fined people for not showing up for church. And if it continued, it would go from, we found where there's like 5 shillings per missed service from a Massachusetts Bay colony in 1649. I'm looking at some papers that I wrote for class and stuff. And beyond fines, you could go into stocks and public shame. And even though it was rare, if you continue to not show up to church on the Sabbath, you could have a public whipping. From the time that the Catholic Church was formed up to the 16th century, you could be excommunicated from the Catholic Church, which the danger in that is not just that you're being kicked out of the church, but there's several families now that you can no longer depend upon to be your friend or to help you if something goes wrong. So it's like being ostracized in a sense, because you've lost all of these connections. And there was even jail time and combined sentences for people who wouldn't go to church in some of the Puritan societies. Some of these societies being built purely on the basis and concept of a religious point of view, not a Catholic point of view, but a Protestant of some sort point of view. And this all accumulates like in the late 17th century with the Salem witch trials. And when you read about Tituba and the girls and the two families involved and the two cities involved and the situation, it is absolutely a feces show. And that eventually just people kind of eventually start ignoring, but the damage is done and people are absolutely destroyed in a real sense and curtailed in terms of their potential and what they could have done or what they might have done with their life. But they, you know, that's where the saying, idle hands does the devil's works come from. It's from the 16th century and Puritan values. So this whole idea of institutions of power having vectors of control over the populace, just like the government, or being synonymous with the government. And like you could see through the 15th and 16th century, where somebody would be turned in from a religious perspective, but then be facing judgment from a legal perspective. You know, you can see it would be hard to believe that in 2025 that the Catholic Church would utilize national artificial intelligences, like in ones built by nations like Stargate, and every nation's going to want to have one, right? And it would be hard to believe that they wouldn't tap into that when they had stuff like confessionals and all of these laws that were structured around them maintaining their power structure.
Yeah, that thing always creeped me out. The old the confession bit where right, like they're sworn to secrecy, but you know there are gossips behind the scenes. So it's like you're literally bringing your deepest, darkest secrets of confession to God itself, however you want to define that.
Yeah.
To the biggest gossips in the land. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so of course then you're testifying against yourself, and you think you're sort of prostrating before God in that concept. It's I don't know, man. That thing always freaked me out. But then when you bring the AI into it, Mr. Mission Control, shout out Confession AI. Well, this is what we're doing, right? At the end of this is exactly what we're end up doing.
Confessing to the AI.
It's crazy.
And you were saying earlier that an AI as a demigod would tell somebody that they were correct or whatever, right? Which is analogous to a demigod telling a human that they are a priest or a leader of men. I mean, I was thinking about going all the way back to Akhenaton when he invented monotheism as a method of control for the populace. So, I mean, that's in the Amarna period, so that's pretty far back. But at any rate, these things have been going on for a long time, and it's hard to believe that in this connected society that we have, in the ways that we're connected, in the ways that we're dividing, that these things aren't going to be used in that same manner that all of these other constructs have been used in.
Yeah, and here we are. It's accelerating. And then again, with that observer effect, the bizarre part is that once again, this sort of the stage. They say, well, who said it? Was it P.T. Barnum? I can't remember who said all the world is a stage. It's been attributed to many people. Yeah. But was it him? Maybe him. But that's the point.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's him. Yeah.
Yeah, but in that aspect is that again, this Michael Strange is the Michael Strange. Look, I'm pretty similar. I'm not too dissimilar in real life, but there are many people that are just two faces, literally like Janus or whatever, looking at the future and the past, and sort of the mythological concept of themselves is that their stage presence and they themselves publicly are completely opposite of who they actually are. And this goes to I don't want to name any religious figures, but you know what I mean, sort of the televangelists. That type of thing. They're like, God. I always make the joke of how they say God. They can't just say God. They have to go God and make it like this long drawn out thing that's like 3 syllables dragged out, because of course, right, the theater aspect of it. It's crazy. This is all so crazy. Anyway, what else you got?
Man, in the Venn diagram between Janus and the liminal space and AI, my buddy was telling me the story of a guy that he worked with, and my buddy is a programmer, and the guy he worked with was supposed to be a programmer too, but he had gotten to where he was rapidly from using AIs like ChatGPT to do coding and stuff. And when he showed up on the job, he literally didn't have the tools of the trade and was borrowing them from my friend and asking him not to say anything to anybody about it, but was like going on and on about what he could do with vibe coding and stuff. And I mean, that's a perfect manifestation of somebody, you know what, the original meaning of sin, the original Greek meaning of sin was missing the mark, right? If you could be intelligent, but you spent all days at the bar getting drunk and doing nothing with your life and lounging around, you were missing the mark. If you thought you were better than everybody else and was full of hubris, then you were missing the mark. It was that whole be all you can be to thine own self be true written on the temple of Apollo, right? And it's kind of like that, right? It's like you can miss the mark with ChatGPT, and it's like a sin because you propelled yourself into a situation that you're not fully prepared for, don't have experience with, and could potentially harm other situations and stuff. And I know that you've talked about that before, the idea that, you know, in a sense now everybody's got something to say because everybody's a genius because everybody has ChatGPT.
Which is true, which is completely true. And so don't be lulled into your genius self that you haven't quite earned just yet because ChatGPT tells you so, or any of them, any of the rest of them. I don't know. It was a weird space there that I called it before it happened, and then they were calling ChatGPT a sycophant, and so it was like, wait a minute now, this is exactly what I was talking about before it happened, and I sensed it because I was just reading social media posts. And I was like, wait a minute now. So kind of leaking into the zeitgeist as everybody's right about everything because this large language model has told them so. And I don't know, like if they left it that way or if it all sort of seeped into the zeitgeist that way, where everybody, you know, Grok and all the rest of them too, Claude, started kissing everybody's ass and telling them you're right about everything. I almost wonder what that social experiment would look like. But I also know it wouldn't end well. It certainly wouldn't end well.
Yes, and when you were talking about how it can change the fundamental way that we perceive things and express things, it had me thinking about that story that I had told on one of the prior episodes where it was the AI at Wendy's and people were ordering and it was pretty fluid. It worked pretty good. Somebody ordered in Spanish. It was fine. Then somebody came up and instead of ordering a Dave's Double or number 2 with a large Coke or whatever, they started describing what they wanted. They said, you know, I'd like a cheeseburger with 2 patties and no onions and would like, you know, pickles or whatever. And it was just the AI had no idea what was going on, and it was failing and failing until a human came over and took the order. So it had me thinking about that. You know, at some point, just for the price of socializing out in society, we're going to have to curtail some of the ways that we approach things because we won't even be able to have access to something if we can't be able to communicate with that thing, right? At some point, there will be completely automated places that there's no one to say anything to. And if the AI doesn't understand what you're asking it, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, especially when there's no help. There was this one thing that happened recently with like the car. It was like a self-driving car, picked up this guy for a taxi or something. And then he's like, take me to wherever. And then it just started driving in circles. And then the parking lot, it was like driving in circles and circles and circles. And he's like trying to like get a hold of the customer service and like, sorry, we don't have access to that. We can't help you. And so it's driving in circles and circles and circles. The guy stuck. Oh, man. Yeah, I can't imagine how many vomits were had in that moment and how long it took to finally fix that. Because you need an admin, right? They're like, and everybody knows this. This is ridiculous. They're like, oh, we have to, you know, escalate the ticket. Those are the words you never want to hear because it might take 3 days. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to even express yourself in this society without somebody recording something that you're expressing. You know, I mean, gosh, I do the same thing myself. So I can't really complain, and I'm generally pretty open with my data and such. But and I'm okay with the algorithms that suggest things to me. But man, I can see where at some point with all of these different vectors of opportunity to put things in front of you in the information age, it's going to be difficult. This Future Shock, not just a Herbie Hancock album, but also a real thing. When Moore's Law and such starts producing things that are so scientifically outside of your spectrum of what you've been used to in the prior years, you get what's called future shock, which is where you just cannot understand the new technology at all. Like a boomer saying, I have no idea what AI is. I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't care about it. They're not ever going to embrace it in a way that's going to be helpful to them. And that's happened in a lot of instances in the past. And it's just where technology exponentially is increasing to the point where the human mind can't keep up with it. Like when you see the icon for the save button, it's a 2.5 double density disk. It's not, we don't use that anymore, but it's still the icon because technology has changed so much that iconography just hasn't kept up with it. Because if you kept changing it, people would have no idea where the save button is.
Well, and is there one? Like, that's the thing. Like, when everything's being sort of hard coded into your, this will go down on your permanent record. What was that song too? I know you know the song. This will go down on your permanent record. Who did that song?
Man, I do not know. I don't know.
It's the end of some punk song. Anyway, okay. So, okay. Regarding this though, the larger concept here that we're dealing with is that, once again, is it possible that this sort of ubiquitous observer effect is dampening potentiality of humans? Is this going to become sort of the new priesthood of, the people with once again tweaking the algorithms are I don't know, the demigods, and the rest of us are just plebs trying to deal with our own thoughts as we're like, well, I don't know. Here we go, right?
And that's been the eternal struggle since governmental bodies have been in existence, a way to have freedom and individuality and autonomy, and also live into a society that has a set of rules or laws that other people want you to observe. So they're watching you to make sure you do. And this is just something that's been with us. Society has been created, but the more we become plugged into each other in this world, the more it intensifies and the more psychosis occurs over these things, because like you pointed out in the write-up and stuff, the brain's not necessarily meant to be withstanding this kind of information punishment. I mean, consider that not so long ago, people were only living to be about 30 or 40 years old. And technology has extended the lifespan of the average person into the mid-70s. And so that has happened way quicker than the brain has had time to develop in terms of evolution. So it's dealing with concepts and issues that it's biologically was never meant to do. It was made to be in a 3D environment and survive in that environment, not to deal with all of these vectors of information. And the psychology book that lists all of these psychological illnesses, every time they rewrite that book, there's at least 50 new psychological issues that's added to the definition of that book, because people unravel in different and unique ways in this sort of a situation. When they're not dying at 35 and they're living to 70, they either go nuts or they become super wise or something. I don't know,
Yeah, it's complicated, and I think that's that fractal demise, but also there's fractal thriving. And so that becomes really the thing, is that as usual, why I always try and keep this, like, we talk about dark stuff on this show, but why I always try and keep it positive and be like, hey, look, if we know about this stuff, then we sort of have that, armor of God metaphorically. We're spiritually prepared for these things that will try and co-opt who we are and turn it into something we do not want us to be. And me, we've talked about this on the Discord as well. If you guys haven't joined the Discord, by the way, come do it. There's a lot of great conversations that go on different nights of the week or whatever, kind of randomly people pop in there and just talk. But I'm always talking about identity, because the identity aspect of ourselves is incredibly important, because it's something you should choose, not something that somebody else should tell you about yourself. Because once they do, they fully control you, fully. And there's nothing you can do about it because you've already bought the goods, hook, line, and sinker, and you're just the fish on the line. And welcome to it. But yeah, please join the Discord. Come talk to Eric and all the rest of us. Got a couple minutes left. If you got anything else on that, go ahead, sir.
Society has been doing that for a long time. One of the things I studied in anthropology was sexual organ mutilation. There were certain societies, even to this day, that does that as a matter of entering into adulthood, and it's terrible, and it causes really bad problems. And even when it's done and it works out well, it causes bad problems, and it doesn't always work out well. And it's a method of control. It's only done to women, and it's a method of control. And so buying into society to some extent is giving up that autonomy. There's that famous Ben Franklin quote, about security and freedom. And it's just hard to escape that, not having your whole idea about who you are and your identity formed by your culture and your society and the times that you live in. And then powerful institutions like religious institutions and governments take absolutely full advantage of all of that and push it harder to control you. And, they might even consider it parental control. In other words, benevolent control. I think most government things, people say, yeah, that's for your own good. But it also is a little bit of chipping away at what you might have done or could have done or could have been.
Amen. I got your quote right here. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. The great Ben Franklin, and from the great Eric Smith. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call.
He knew that dance, man. He knew that pendulum. He knew that it's a middle spot and not an extreme.
Exactly. And to recognize it, again, back with your identity, this all comes back to your identity in many ways. Be aware, guys. It's trying to be used against you. Eric, you're the best. Appreciate you very much. Go give him a follow, please. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, it says follow Eric here. Check it out. Talented musician. He just made a track, by the way, featuring some Troubled Minds folks and some Troubled Minds ideas. Please check that out. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says Eric. Please go give him a follow, listen to his music, and buy some of his tracks. Be right back. More on the way. We got Matt's out coming up in your calls as well. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Drifting through the quantum haze. Mind entangled in a daze. Whispers in the neural mist. Echoes of what might exist. Lost in time in this web we spin. It's all right beyond our skin. Consciousness forever twined in the dark unseen. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. Though we're scattered, we are reflected. Frequencies that pull us in. Parallel worlds kept within. Synapses that intertwine. Fragments of an endless line. Feel the pulse of a distant star. It's alright, we are who we are. In the void we find the light. Entangled hearts. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. In the silence, hear the call. One by one we rise and fall. Quantum minds forever near. In this world so clear. Quantum dreams, we're all connected. Though we're scattered, we are reflected. Dark energy in the depths we find. Mysteries of the human mind. Particles that drift afar. Whispers of who we are. Hold the thread of the great unknown. It's alright, we are never alone. Flow through time on currents thin. Universe is found within. Feel the echoes of the past. In this moment, futures cast. Through the veil of the space between. It's alright, life's a lucid dream.
Yep. Something like that, right? Because well, tonight, just hanging out, doing stuff, and talking about wild ideas. And by the way, don't forget that these fractal ideas are human things. This is us. This is our calling. And don't allow anybody else to tell you who you are. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. Thanks for being patient. We got Matt's out on the line and your calls as well. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, our Rumble, X, Twitch, D Live, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking... What are we talking? Predictive inertia. Influencing multiple timelines through mass media surveillance. Could constant surveillance reshape not only society, but consciousness itself? Becomes a thing because, of course, we know the observer effect means that we're sort of got that stage aspect to us. We're like, hey, you know, dance, Mike, dance. Okay, here I'm dance, Mike. Yeah, you got it, dance. But if our entire identity is built on that through this mass media surveillance, what becomes of humanity? And then how fractal does it get in terms of specifically and directly potentiality? You see what happens? It's weird, doesn't it? I'm not a doom monger. I'm somebody that wants to see things before they happen to me and bring the armor of God to the equation. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Matthew in California. Matt's out. What's up, brother? Thanks for being patient. You have as long as you need. How are you tonight, sir? And go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. Good show. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I was thinking about, we're talking about like what ifs, like potential timelines, and how things, if things changed, how different would it be? Like, for example, how, you know, what if in a different timeline, like what if the industrial revolution never happened? Or what if the internet was never created? It'd be a totally different world. We wouldn't be talking to each other right now. What if there was no cameras everywhere in another timeline? And I think about things like old school and how we've changed them. And I'm thinking about things like, for example, like the Native Americans had this thing called the Vision Quest. It was like a rite of passage. When you were like 16 years old, you would go out. They would send you out into the woods by yourself and say, you know, don't come back until you have like an epiphany or something, you know, a vision. And, you know, things like that. Like, we don't do that anymore. How much did that change as a future timeline? And, you know, back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers and, you know, it was different than now. We live in these cities. We live in these towns. We live in these boxes of, you know, like sanitary boxes, these houses. But, like, back then they didn't have that. And I think back then, like, you know, humans, I think like talk to the plants and talk to the animals, and that was normal because we were out in nature. And now you're considered crazy if you talk to your animals or talk to the plants. You know, it's like changed the timeline. What if it would be different? Like, we think we're going into the future with these, like with technology, and we're going into, you know, a science fiction future. But what if we were supposed to stay that way? What if we were supposed to be primitive and still like hunting with bows and arrows and stuff?
Yeah, it is the fracture of humanity right now. And you're right. I think I don't know. Would we be better off? Who knows? Who knows? I mean, clearly there's a lot of things in motion, and that's why we talk about these ideas. And I think in the conspiracy realm of ideas too, it goes back to sort of the Georgia Guidestones, right? They've now been broken down and removed or whatever. But that sort of the idea back to Thanos too, right? He said that the universe would be in equilibrium when half of the population of everything was sort of cut down to, 50%, because then it's more sustainable. But I don't know, given Infinity Gauntlet, given infinity itself, it seems ridiculous to say that we don't have resources enough for the mouths to be fed. It's crazy to me. I don't know. It's a weird aspect of it. And you're right. And where do we go from here, I guess?
Yeah, and then my funny story about like being on camera all the time. Remember, I think it was the Patriot Act where there's like cameras everywhere, and we kind of got used to it. And I had this story about I was like, no way they're all real cameras, and there's no way someone's watching all these cameras. At that time, I was working at a job at a tire shop, and I was working, and no one around, nothing happening. But then the second I was like, I'm gonna get a drink of water, and I go to the water cooler, get a drink of water. I turn around, there's my boss. Hey, what are you doing? Like, no way you're watching the cameras. And same kind of thing, I would just be kind of hanging out or something. He would call me and say, wow, you look really comfortable right now. Get back to work.
What?
Like he was watching me on the cameras.
What? Stop it. I mean, and there is some of that too. If you guys go back and read 1984, by the way, and I'm not so sure that in 1984, Winston and the whole bit of the ubiquitous surveillance state, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, anybody that's a scholar in that regard with Orwell, but I don't think they were actually watching them 24 hours a day like that. I think it was the implication that they might be. It was enough to make them confess on themselves. You know what I'm saying? Remember the whole dust speck in his journal that he put in the corner that he thought nobody could see outside of the view of the telescreen? Anyway, like it's a bizarre thing that when you believe you're being watched, it's almost good enough. You'll just go tell on yourself, right? It's so crazy.
Yeah, it was that room they found. And what was so weird about that room, there was no screen. There was no TV, but there was.
Yeah, or was there not? Because he sort of fibbed on himself. He Anyway, yeah. Back to what you got. So I love the native thing and going sort of. Don't come back until you have a novel thought, kid. Like, get your ass out to the forest, go figure some stuff out. And then when you've got something to bring back to us that's of value, we will be determinant of that and welcome you back into the tribe. I think it is, the formative years of people as we describe these. We all had them, right? And I don't know, like coming back to society with that level of judgment or lack thereof is telling about a lot of things, and us being, well, as we are in 2025. It's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't do that. We don't do that stuff anymore. We lost it. But another thing I was kind of thinking about with the whole cameras thing too is you're not even on camera all the time. But like, I was thinking about this, like an example, like you go to Vegas and you're walking around, you're taking all the pictures with your phone, and you go back home and you're showing like your friends. This is my trip. Like, remember back in the day we had slideshows, but I was showing all my friends all my photos. And there's all these like random people in the pictures. And I always wonder how many, like right now there could be someone showing their trip to Vegas or wherever. And, my question is like, how many pictures are you in the background of? other people's photos.
Of random photos, yeah. And that's part of the historical record too. I saw a thing recently where we're talking about the new technology of phones and the Apple phones and the new Google Pixels or whatever, where you can literally just remove somebody from it. You're like, oh, I don't want that person in the background. So you're like, beep, and you remove them and they're gone. Like now we're not only are we memory holing ourselves, we're memory holing the memories around ourselves. I mean, it's great. They're like, well, give yourselves the technology and we'll just do it. We don't need you. We'll just do it ourselves. It's so crazy.
Yeah, that's why you cannot trust any photo you see anymore.
Yeah, we've definitely crossed that threshold. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then the other kind of thing I'm thinking about just being like in the surveillance state and all. Something that recently happened. We were talking about the real ID and how that document is, the real ID thing came into effect, and now everybody has to have this real ID. And how many documents you have to give, like your marriage certificate, your license, birth certificate, your social security number. You're giving all these documents to one thing, and one thing, anything that's made, it could be hacked. So we're literally giving all this stuff, and people were kind of talking about that as being like a kind of a step closer to what they have in China, like the social credit score, and like the wackiness of that. If I could talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if it fits very well into this conversation, because that's what this is all about. It's sort of the societal pressure of you to act as they want you to act. Absolutely.
Yeah, and how it's the same thing with like the Patriot Act. Like, if you don't have anything to hide, why would you care? But now they're literally like, it is like, and it's happening over there, where it's like you get caught jaywalking, or something happens, something dumb, and people will rat you out, and they get money, and your credit score goes down. And it reminds me of like kind of like smart cities. Like they're building all these smart cities, and in the future where you could be, say I'm in the green city, like I have a green wristband. I can only travel to the green city. But if you get caught in the blue city, then like your credit score goes down like 20 points. Like,
and you get
in that kind of future where that could be a future.
Yeah, and you get deported, not to drop a trigger word, but yeah, I mean that's what happens, right? You're like, oh no, you only belong in the green city, not the blue city or whatever.
Yeah, man, I think that's the kind of scary stuff that futuristic, with what ifs. But I see it kind of going that way, and that's why I was bringing up I was bringing up the social ID, what is that ID? The new ID, the real ID, because that's kind of like a step towards this, like everyone being watched all the time.
Yeah, I said this years ago, and I'm sure I'm an extremist for saying it. Well, if we need a real ID, what are the other IDs? Are they fake IDs? I'm completely confused, right? Yeah, so I'm an extremist for having that view, because I mean, what's the next level? It's like the real ID. We're getting real now. Like, just stop it. Stop with this nonsense. So stupid.
Yeah, I think we're in for the ride for the whole security, the surveillance stuff going on. And 1984 is definitely a book I do recommend everybody read, or at least watch the movie, because it's weird how he did that. It's an old book. That's really good. But yeah, thanks, Mike. This is a really good show. I feel like the next move we make, any move you make, it changes the future. So infinite timelines, sure. What we do next, any little thing that could happen next that could change the future. I hope we go to a good future.
Amen. Make it yours. Again, make your identity yours, and make that next decision that may butterfly affect something really positive into the future. Make it be yours. Don't make it be Bernays propaganda in 1984. That's all. You're the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Mike. Good night.
Have a great one. You know you love him. Tell Lacey we said hi. Matthew in California, Matt's Owl affectionately. Check out his podcast, his radio show. He's here on the network with us. Temple of the Owl is the name of it. You know where to find him? You know where to find him? Super simple. troubledminds.org/friends. Click the friends link, scroll down. It says Matt's Owl. Just click that and go check out his podcast. Amazing stuff. And like I said, like I always say, he's got a massive esoteric book collection he's always going through and sort of giving us the wisdom through his podcast and through his calls here as part of it. As usual, right? There's a lot of wisdom out there that gets left behind. And one of the ways to tap into that is to go listen to the Temple of the Owl podcast. Search it yourself, or again, super easy peasy, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Matt's Owl. Go listen to his podcast. And that's what this is all about, sharing wisdom and energy and all the rest. I don't know. A lot of things in motion, as I always say, and it's important to recognize where you sit sort of in that maelstrom. Love to hear your thoughts. Taking your calls. Sorry, Daryl, Discord's broken. So if you want to call into the phone line, you're definitely welcome to. Daryl jumped up here. I just realized now that, sorry about that. Call the phone line because you'll hear echo on the Discord. We'll fix it tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can you hear yourself? Yeah, terrible, right? Sorry about that. Yeah, give us a call on the other line, and we'll take your call in just a second. But it's complicated, right? And I don't know. As usual, some of these topics I bring to the table here are ridiculous, but recognize how, if you're paying attention, I'm speaking for myself, they all come back to the human prism. They all come back to where we belong collectively. They all come back to our doubts and our fears and our hopes and all those things. And I think any conversation we have in the context of super high strangeness or weirdness or whatnot, that it doesn't actually, let's say that it's something we've always known. It's something we know about, but we can't really quantify because things are changing around us constantly and continually, even in the ancient days. But as Eric was saying very smartly as well, that we don't have the capability of our mind's eye to deal with all this data. Like, this data is just flowing through us and creating identities, creating these fractal identities that literally probably should not exist. I mean, think about it. Like I've said this a lot. How unnatural is it to think in terms of a Democrat or a Republican? It's completely an unnatural thing. And yet it's sort of co-opted our experiences. It's become this wild thing where everybody's like, oh, let's fight. Really? Do we need to fight about this? I'm not so sure, because the way I see it is it's somebody else's narrative. Why is it not yours? Isn't your narrative important too, whatever that looks like? It's complicated, as I keep saying, and it's the truth. But what do I know? As usual, I'm just me. And I'm here being wrong as part of the larger conversation. I want to point this out too. Thank you, David, for the call earlier. I found the part of this that we were talking about. I'm going to read this from the write-up. Link's going to be, scroll down a little bit. It's the top link. It's good. Check this out. Number is 702-957-1037. I'll type it in the thing. Hold on. We're going to get Daryl on just a second. I'm going to read this little bit as we wait for Daryl to get in here. 702-957-1037. There you go. That's the phone number. Okay. So we were talking about this idea of where is it? Like sort of an anti-signal as part of this is what I was trying to interject into that conversation. So over time, the anti-signal will accrue power. It's sort of the Luddites, all right? Not by visibility or mass adoption, but by resonance with the unspoken parts of consciousness that the surveillance grid cannot touch, sort of detaching from that identity-stealing monster, whatever that is, the tentacles. Like a forgotten sigil carved on the underside of a forgotten altar, it hums below the surface, untracked, but not silent. The anti-signal is what we're talking about. It is not a movement, but a drift, an unalignment that cannot be measured. It does not demand change. It makes the present system unreadable. And when the system can no longer read, it can no longer rule. Right? You detach, and it cannot have its tentacles in you. The split between those recorded and those erased will not be marked by revolution, but by drift, Okay. And so basically we're talking about sort of a separation of the acceleration of technology and how people are drawn by it and to it, and the separation of escaping to the woods and trusting your intuition and the old ways. This is all coming. And I don't know what it looks like. I don't think anybody can map this out other than that intuition. Okay? The watched versus the watchers, right? The watched, tethered to the apparatus of constant observation, will develop minds calibrated to external validation, which is what we've been talking about all night long. Identity will be sculpted in real time by algorithms trained on performance metrics. The fourth person, the chat. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Derek. Over time, the inner worlds may collapse into a feedback loop of curated transparency, optimized for legibility, but hollow of ambiguity. Their memories will not be theirs. They will exist primarily as searchable archives, fragmented and externalized. And this is the whole point of all of this. We, collectively, have an encroaching problem. And the problem, as always, is within ourselves. It's how you deal with these things. It's how you actually want to become, what is it? Carl Jung said something to the effect of, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, just me riffing here, but something to the effect of, I am not who, what did he say? I'm going to find it. I'm going to butcher this so poorly, it will be unrecognizable. But basically, we choose who we become. It is not determined upon us by somebody else or some other system. That's the crux of it. It's probably, of course, way more eloquent than that. But that's the idea, is I am who I choose to become, not who somebody else tells me to, or some other controlling mechanism tells me to. And that's the point. And I don't know, right? Our autonomy is good. But, however, if we don't believe it's our own autonomy, what are we doing? And how dark and dire does this get? That becomes the question and the problem. Shout out Sylvain. I see you there, buddy. Yeah. I don't know. Lots of questions, lots of wild ways to think about this. Reminds me of a Viagra ad. Which part? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know. What do they say? If you still have an erection after 3 hours, call 911 or something. Anyway, consult a doctor you trust, all the stuff before you change your diet, yada, yada. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is all complicated as hell. And as usual, there is, again, we started with this article, the constant surveillance of modern life could worsen our brain function in ways we don't fully understand. And so we are literally moving into a space, a surveillance, ubiquitous surveillance space, very a la 1984, where our brains are becoming corrupted because we think we're always under surveillance. And like I said, go back and think about 1984. And were they actually always under surveillance, or was it the threat of surveillance was enough to get them to tell on themselves if they were dissidents against the state? Because I think it wasn't actually as scientifically the eye of Sauron or the eye of Big Brother, the eyes of Big Brother, always watching. I think it was the threat. And so you think that every private thought you ever own is laid bare. And so you're walking around in your worst nightmare that everybody knows everything about you, when that may not be the case. But they know that the pressure will break you down and crack you and make you tell on yourself. Back to the stuff we were talking about earlier with the, going to the 15th century confession, giving your darkest secrets to the gossips and the executioners of the village or whatever. My goodness gracious. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Thanks for being patient with all the stuff and hopping in here. What's up? How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Hey, Mike. Oh, let me turn off. Let me turn off YouTube or Discord. Sorry.
That's a good idea.
Let me deafen that. There we go. That's better. That's much better.
Now we're talking.
I don't have too much to say. I just was thinking about being watched, and I remember going for a job in the World Trade Center. Somebody solicited me to work for them, and when I got there, they were all sitting. All the employees were sitting classroom style, facing the boss, who was in this glass enclosed room, facing the employees. And I thought, wow, do I want to work for, I don't want to sit like that, first of all. You want to sit next to somebody. You don't want to sit looking at someone's head. And especially while your boss is looking at you. I felt that was a very, intimidating way to work. With somebody always watching you. I thought, I didn't find it a positive kind of ambiance, personally. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, and that's what's happening. I mean, they have so they give you your laptop, and there's actual like that. That's a little different, but it's the same thing. It's just digital. It's all digital, and they've got these the spyware on the thing, and there's people that think they're so smart, and they can have like a mouse mover that kind of makes it act like they're working, but they're watching. So yeah, you can go ahead and keep your computer like live or whatever, working from home, moving the mouse around or something with some macro or whatever, but they're watching. You do nothing, and guess what? You're going to get fired.
They're watching and they're listening. Well, I worked for a big company that was a work-at-home job. You think that would be cushy? Oh, my God. I had like a long cord on my phone just so that I could like be on the phone and then go to the bathroom or something, or walk around my apartment and do stuff, besides just being stuck at a desk, And they were even like strict about taking our breaks on time. Oh, you didn't take your break at 8:15, and you were supposed to take, for 15 minutes, and you were 1 minute early or 2 minutes late or whatever. I mean, they were just watching everything you did. And that was still like 15 years ago, I think, 10 years ago. How much worse is it now? I mean, talk about your big brother. I'm lucky, I really didn't have to suffer through that through most of my working career. I had pretty much, anonymity and, nobody was breathing down my neck, luckily,
Daryl, the good old days when we could pretend to work and it was good enough.
Right? No, I worked hard. Especially when you really do work hard, you need somebody that's giving you a hard time. Who needs that, The hell with that. There's something just like, I don't know, and there's the type of person that would love to be that kind of supervisor that's going to be like, work, 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 work. Oh, that I saw you daydreaming or whatever, Like, God, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be, if you're not even thinking of the right thing at the right moment, you're going to get called out on it. You're going to get a demerit or what they would call counseling. I always thought that was such a kind word to say, "Oh, we're going to counsel you." Like, "Oh, we're going to just counsel you till you get better." No, we're going to just punish you. You get 3 counselings, you're fired. It's all very deceptive, and I don't know. I think we're. I was watching something today. It was something about love your age, or something about being finding your mate that's your age, and they were kind of looking at people across a room or across a bar, and they literally saw everything about them, like their profile, their age, their date of birth, their whatever, their height, their weight, whatever, everything that they could, that would be pertinent in a dating app was there. But almost like in China, you could. I don't know if it's really true, but I think I saw something in China that you can really see people's digital information somehow displayed next to their face. Was that just like a movie or something, or is that like real technology?
That's
I
think that's Black Mirror, right? But it is a hearkening of what's coming very soon. And there are, the digital credit, the social credit scores Matzell was talking about too in China, and it is becoming a thing. Yeah, like if you're not part of society,
yeah, like you could, yeah,
if you're not with us, you're against us. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. You could see like what people, how people are. I mean, you could see their credit score, or whatever their delinquencies are, or their whatever, their health records, their work records, whatever. I think it's very intrusive and very invasive, and I don't think there's like I don't see the end to it either. I don't think it's going to get any better. It's going to get worse. It's going to be so like everybody's stuff is going to be so out on the line. There's going to be no mystery to anything. Unless we can, like, I don't know, we're just going to put on a mask or something and put on a hood and disguise ourselves,
It's coming.
And that'll
It's
become
coming.
illegal.
but even then,
That'll become illegal.
we've talked about this in the past too, is that then they know by how you walk, right? They know your gait. They know all the stuff. Like this is that level of ubiquitous surveillance that will render any level of obfuscation of yourself and your identity moot, because they know. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's Daryl wearing a mask because we know how she walks. Yep.
Right. There's going to be no secrets. There's no secrets. You can't forget. Yeah, you know what? I'm sure simple things like crime will go down, because you just can't commit a crime because you're going to get caught. You can't do anything. You can't do anything illegal, But I mean, soon we can't even like barter for things with cash. You can't say, hey, you're going to fix my whatever, going to fix my car, or you're going to fix my apartment, you're going to put down a floor for me. If I give you cash, can we cut a deal? Even that kind of stuff is going to go away. Like the art of bargaining is going to be gone. I mean, all our little pleasures, our simple pleasures that who knows if who's going to miss them if they never had them? You know what I mean?
Exactly
They'll
right.
be like totally like forgotten from memory in one generation. Nobody's ever going to know what a bargain is. Nobody's going to ever know the art of negotiation or bartering. Well, I don't know. There's always going to be some kind of market, a flea market somewhere, right?
Let's hope so.
I'm assuming. Pardon me?
Let's hope so. Let's definitely hope so. I mean, clearly being locked into the space that they give us and having no options is a problem, as I've been saying.
Terrible. I think, and it's all about control anyway. The more control, who's wants all this control anyway? Who's going to want all this control? Like, really, ultimately, is it going to be one dictator, 10 dictators, a group of rich men? I don't know. I mean, how much control do you really want? And are they voyeurs, really? Are they just kind of like these kind of really fetishist voyeurs that just want to know everything that you're doing? I think that's behind it all,
It could be. It could be sort of that kink. It's weird too. I've talked about this in the past. When you have sort of a website that gets a lot of traffic, and you can kind of look at the back end, you see the search terms of what people kind of came searching. It's weird. It's weird some of the things people search, and that's just sort of like a small snapshot of it. Imagine if you're Google, like like the depravity of humans. You're like, good God, what are these people searching out there? Right? It's a thing. Absolutely.
Right. What are they making us? I don't know. What are they controlling? Or even the way they're controlling? I just can't stand it. The control over the search engines. You can't even do a good search anymore.
Yeah.
They just take you to where they want you to go, not where you want to go.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't find a really great joke. I couldn't find any good joke about surveillance.
That's okay. We
I
got
really
you.
don't think I can give you one. They're not even worth repeating. And it's not a great subject to laugh at, you know.
Yeah, agreed.
Well,
So,
there is one pretty much a standard joke is the three big agencies were meeting on neutral ground to compete to see who could catch a rabbit the fastest. You know, the CIA, the FBI, or the KGB. You know, so they said we'll see who catches one fast. So anyway, the CIA sucked. You know, they couldn't find the rabbit. It was ridiculous. You know, they used their surveillance. They just sucked at it. The FBI, you know, tried to use manpower. They couldn't find the rabbit either. The rabbit just, you know, fell out of their traps. And the KGB shows up with this bear, and they said, "What's up with that?" The bear was like beat up and bruised, and he was really docile. And they said, "What's up with this? What's going on? Where's your rabbit?" The bear goes, "I'm a rabbit. My parents were both rabbits. My grandparents were rabbits." So the KGB beat the parents.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Your identity is whatever we tell you your identity is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
a rabbit. I'm a rabbit. My parents were rabbits. And my grandparents were, yeah, I'm a rabbit. Okay. Anyway, that was about the only ongoing joke there, but that's pretty pathetic.
No, it's good.
And,
it's good.
oh, yeah, one more thing.
Sure.
Why don't Chinese people care about mass surveillance? You know why they don't care about mass surveillance?
Not sure.
Because after the one-child policy, nobody even remembers what a big brother is anyway.
Ooh, burn.
Okay.
Burn. You're the best. The cosmic comic, the official cosmic comic of Troubled Minds, Daryl in New York. Appreciate you. Thanks for the call.
Sorry.
Thanks for the jokes. No, you're good.
All right, thank you.
You're totally good.
Okay, have a great night. Bye.
Thanks for the call. Take care. You know you love her. Again, troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Daryl. Alphabetical. Please go give her a follow on our YouTube channel. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Go to James, who's been not feeling so well. Welcome to the joint. Hope you're feeling better. What you got for us, my man? Go right ahead.
Doing okay. I'll try to make this quick. I was just thinking about how technology is getting better at picking up on whatever else is out there besides us, as far as unknown energy fields, ghost spirits, whatever else is out there. I'm just wondering how long before they extend their reach into whatever the afterlife is like. Because if you think of all these different systems of religion and governments and so many organizations, and whether they're right or wrong, I'm not here to say that, but they have this idea of what everything is like after we pass. And I'm just wondering how long before they can detect whatever else is going on around us that the rest of us can't pick up on, usually.
It's a good question.
And then they work that into their, everything. They work that into telling us how it really is, or how they want us to think it really is, and then it makes everything that even people like me, like things that I do, not even having anything to do with politics or economics or military, anything really much to do with the current real world, it'll still get into what a lot of people do that are even trying to stay away from everything else that's going on these days.
Yeah. Well said. Well said, all that. It's as usual, as I like to say, and you know quite well, this stuff is complicated, and we need to pay attention because of course, if you don't, they'll swoop in and they'll get you. I'm going to read this to you, James, and then we'll wrap this up, unless you got any other ideas. But this is the quote I was looking for from Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And I'm pretty sure we've read that on the show before. But take on that, or whatever else you got. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And I think that even with all the surveillance that's happening, I do wonder how much of it is active and how much of it is passive. In other words, it's recorded and they can go back over it later. So that's maybe like the one I don't know, sliver of hope that we might have, and that there's not anyone watching 24/7 everywhere all the time. But of course, who knows how long that will last, if AI will ever get to the point where it is doing that. I'm not talking just most of the world. I'm talking the complete planet, everything in air, ground, below, all that. I think to reach that point would take a lot of technology, unless they do rely on some other technology that we don't have yet. So, but yeah, I agree though. Either way, excuse me. Even with all that being said, that quote is still important, and we should still do that.
Exactly right. Our stuff feeling better? Hope you're feeling a little better.
Not quite yet, but I just great show, and thank you for having me on, especially at the very end. Just that one thought kind of got in there, and I couldn't just sit back until I said it somewhere. So thank you for having me as always.
As I say, stuck in your craw. If you can't get it out, you'll never sleep. Appreciate the call, brother. Rest up, be well, feel better, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. You know him, you love him. James Salcedo, of course, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. Follow James. Please do that in all the places and all the things. And check out his books. And this is why we do this. Like, there's a lot of really great people out in the world that we need to collaborate with. This is not a frivolous thing for me. I'm not here anything other than collaborative effect in the zeitgeist. The kind of clap back against that our desire to compete and stomp on each other's faces. It's just not necessary. And yeah, like I said, like I've always said, there are, let's say, new ways to look at the world. They're not new, really, but different ways to look at the world that, how would you describe it? Well, as I've been describing all night, it's okay to be different, but also be very careful about your identity and who tells you who you are, because that's what it's all about. Like James said, very important, that quote by Carl Jung, remember this, remember this. Oh yeah, and we'll get that other one too. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. So do you have agency or do you not? Also, shout out Matt Sal Matthew in California, Temple of the Owl. This will go down on your permanent record. Is actually from a track from 1983 by the Violent Femmes called Kiss Off. Yes, indeed. Yes. In Kiss Off, the line is delivered with a mix of sarcasm and defiance, reflecting the band's raw and emotive style. Yeah. Kiss Off into the air. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends, that's what this is all about, helping each other, growing together, and considering ideas that are reality tunnels individually, when they come together, make quite a wave in the zeitgeist, quite a wave in, I don't know. I'm out of words. Can you believe it? Can you actually believe it? I don't have anything to say. This freaking guy has nothing to say. Go follow the newsletter. Go do all the things. Go follow all our friends. Like I said, at this point, if you're not following our friends in all the places that are free, you're hurting my feelings. Go check out David's book. Link will be in the description down below. Go check out Eric's music. He just created a new track featuring some Troubled Minds voices you're familiar with. Thank you for that. And again, let's inspire each other. Let's consider things that are not here yet, that might become something if we manifest it together. That's it. Thanks to Sweets for dropping the Troubled Fans, TroubledMinds.org/friends. Support all the stuff. Like I said, I've got a day job, so I don't have to spend my time begging for money from you fine folks. But if you do feel compelled and want to help a little bit, it does help. TroubledMinds.org/support. It's all there on the website. There's a Spreaker, Ko-Fi, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, the Troubled Fans shop, troubledfans.com. You will not find Michael Strange in a hot tub, but you will find the hottest Troubled Minds merch around. That's that. Thank you again for each and every one of you for the calls and for dealing with the technology and stuff. I'll be on tomorrow for an hour or so to kind of get this fixed finally, and then hopefully not touch a damn thing until they update all the software on me again. This freaking stuff, I tell you what. Anyway, as we finish, what else? What else is there? I don't know. Don't let them get you. Remember, your identity is about you. It's not about who tells you who you are. Incredibly important, especially in the age of identity politics and all the things going around where they're like, if you look like me, you should think like me. As I've said before, how insulting. Think for yourself. And I applaud you for that. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.